Saya no Uta. Imagine waking up one day to see that the entire world around you has changed. Not the world itself, but your perception of it. What used to be buildings and humans has been replaced with a horrifying texture pack of fleshy and nasty surfaces and creatures consisting more of mucus than actual blood. This almost drives you to the brink of insanity until you meet a mysterious young girl, and I mean very young girl, who is the only living being that your eyes can perceive as remotely human. And then you turn into a horrible, serial unaliving, people-munching PDF file that even Adobe Acrobat wouldn't want anything to do with. That's the premise of Saya no Uta, or The Song of Saya, a horror visual novel game that lets you play as Fuminori Sakisaka, a very unlucky car accident victim whose life is never the same afterwards, and you, as a player, get to experience the process of him slowly but surely turning into one of the most morally depraved and horrible human beings in all of history, while also watching the complete and full destruction of the innocent lives intertwined around him. Oh, and throw in a few sicko scenarios that'll make you wonder if it's even legal to have this game on your computer. Saya no Uta was originally released on December 26th, 2003, with the English version being released on May 6, 2013, and the remastered version for Steam being released on August 13th, 2019. And by remastered, I mean get rid of the evidence before the FBI raids my house! Because this game has some really diabolical scenes that make it literally impossible for me to say that I like this game in any way. Deadass, I wouldn't be surprised if you open up the original game and Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us started to play on your speakers, because the main character of this game is certainly trying to strike a chord, and it's most definitely a minor! Hello everybody, my name is Leo Hashi, and welcome to my breakdown of Saya no Uta. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to watch me continue to lose my mind. And a huge shout out to my channel members. Y'all help keep the channel going. And I've released the full playthrough of this game on my channel for my members. I'll make the first episode available for public viewing, and the rest of it is available for my channel members right now. At this point, this is nothing new to my channel, but let's begin this discussion of Saya no Uta with a massive trigger warning, as this game contains some really grotesque depictions of sexual assault, CSA, graphic violence, body horror, ideation, amongst many other horrible and unspeakable things, so viewer discretion is advised. This visual novel is what happens when a renowned horror writer takes the horror genre a few steps too far. It takes an otherwise intriguing and actually really well-written story and makes it morally reprehensible in a way that ruins the overall product for me. I'd say this is one of the most disappointing pieces of media that I've ever covered on my channel, because on one hand, there are some aspects of this game that I can say is good. When the game focuses on the horror and mystery aspects of its story, it can actually be really good. I almost shit my pants a few times and was on my tippy toes at some of the really suspenseful moments of the story. And this is a visual novel, dude. If some words and slideshow transitions can make me almost soil my underpants, then I gotta give it the credit. Some of the character writing was also really good, and unlike School Days, where every character should be rotting in a prison cell, there are actually morally ambiguous and well-written characters that you actually end up wanting to support or see them win in some way. The world building was also really good. As a horror fan, I appreciated the Lovecraftian nastiness that frequently showed up in the game. A world made of human body parts and other nasty gunk that makes it impossible to tell where the mountains end and the skies begin? I low-key stand such nasty and unspeakable body horror sometimes. Fleshy, squelchy monsters made of mucus and slime replacing human beings? Hell yeah, dude! Squelch me up more, daddy! Now, if only there was a game where you can end up making love to the tentacle god Cthulhu himself! Oh my god! And I have no idea what is going on with these morally reprehensible and perhaps illegal content containing ass visual novels. But holy hell, dude, the soundtrack in this game absolutely slaps. It quickly became one of my favorite parts of this game. The haunting ambient music really added so much to the experience of trying to discover how a pile of mucus might be destroying the entire planet. The intense and sometimes ear-piercing battle themes somehow make a JPEG file and some words in Times New Roman seem like Sung Jin-woo fighting the dumbass Ant King or Prince or whatever the hell the thing was. Now, I can glaze this game all I want and give credit where credit is due, but on the other hand, none of this will change my perception that I think this game is a flaming pile of morally reprehensible garbage. This game contains some absolutely diabolical scenarios that literally depicts the violation of children, or children in quote-unquote adult scenarios. A character being forced to turn into a quote-unquote pet and getting constantly violated in indescribable ways, and some other really horrific scenarios scenarios that all just seem completely unnecessary and plastered into the story more for the stupid-ass shock value than anything else. It's the worst, most repulsive kind of horror. A lot of this stuff isn't horrifying in an entertaining or suspenseful way that you'd want from a horror story, but it's more horrifying in a way that genuinely makes me question humanity as a whole. Bottom line, I morally cannot say I like this game in any way. I just can't support a piece of media that depicts such horrific scenarios and tries to play those things off as quote-unquote storytelling or some bullshit, when the exact story could have been told without including some of these disgusting scenarios, and the game would have genuinely been better for it. And the remastered version of the game, which is the one I played for this video, actually removes a lot of the more shocking and illegal aspects of this game, and it's still nauseating sometimes. As someone who had the misfortune of accidentally seeing some screenshots of this removed content while doing research, it terrifies me to know that there might be people out there who actively search for and enjoy the types of scenarios that I saw. When I first mentioned in a community post that I was thinking of playing this game, people in the comments showed a lot of concern for my mental state, since I had just spent like a month and a half living in the world of the School Days visual novel, which is a completely different kind of horror in its own right. I was also aware of the head writer of this game, Gen Urobuchi, and some of his works. I watched Madoka Magica a while ago and actually enjoyed it, and Kamen Rider Gaim was another show written by him that I genuinely ended up enjoying amongst the sea of other Kamen Rider series that I personally had started finding to be completely and absolutely mid. Unfortunately, all of these things only made me morbidly curious about what's actually going on with this game. How far does it actually go? While I didn't have to experience the full extent of the nastiness since I played the remastered version, this game ended up forcing me to recognize just how numbed I was starting to become to this type of media and how dangerous it actually can be, which will be a discussion for way later in the video. At the end of the day, no amount of good atmosphere building or good writing can excuse the portrayal of children in such horrific and disgusting ways. Ways that you know will end up on someone's hard drive to be used in extremely unsavory ways. I think the fact that these things had to be cut from the game already speaks volumes, okay? So anyways, it's time to dive into this horrific world and story of No Uta as I experienced it. This game is really straightforward and actually pretty short. You basically just click through the story and see how things play out, and only get like 2 moments where you actually have to make a choice. So I'll just dive right into the story and introduce the character as it goes on. Let's begin. The story begins as we see a grotesque room completely overtaken by some kind of fleshy, gross material, including mucus, slime, probably shit, and other really fun and wonderful things that you can think of. The main character of the game listens as 3 other piles of flesh or mucus or whatever, some demented ass creature monster thing, talk about something, but none of it sounds like words, but just a bunch of inhuman noises. Sorry, it just sounds like the noises from School Days. We're introduced to the main character, Fuminori Sakisaka. Okay, so his name is Sakisaka. Sakisaka on his dick. Fuminori was just your average medical student in university until one fateful day. He went through a tragic car accident that left him with a strange condition where he perceives the world as fleshy and disgusting. And human beings have all been replaced with repulsive amalgamations of flesh, mucus, and whatever else that turn him into a very, very mentally disturbed individual. I won't describe him too much more here because you'll come to find out more and more as the story goes on, but I'll let you know right now, despite starting the game off as a tragic victim shoved into a situation that he never asked for, that does not excuse any of the absolutely vile and disgusting behavior that he chooses to enact throughout this game. Let's keep going. Fuminori tries to act as if he fits in so that he can avoid arousing anyone's suspicions. He's normal, guys. He's totally normal and mentally fine. He tells us this fleshy world has been his life for the past 3 months and will be until the day he dies. He names these 3 beautiful looking amalgamations of flesh and mucus as his friends as they continue their indecipherable conversation. But if I narrate like the boulder from Avatar, dude. A slimy hole near the top of the creature writhes nauseatingly as it vomits some semblance of words. That must be Koji's face, or what the boulder would have seen as such 3 months ago. Unable to stomach the sight of it, the boulder averts his eyes and gives a neutral answer. Apparently, the 4 of them were in the same college club and went skiing together every winter break. Fuminori wishes no one would recognize him, but alas, he's still in the same city he was born and raised in, and the same society that he's been a part of for 20 years. But he, and he alone, is unable to see it this way anymore. The 3 fleshy, squelchy friends ask Fuminori about the ski trip, who only tries to avert his gaze from them, as well as give neutral answers. He laments on how these nasty little shits used to be his his closest companions. One of them potentially becoming more than just a companion? Ooh, girl, that's some tea. But his tears ran dry already, and he only carries loathing. But if he acts disturbed in any way, he'll be sent back to the hospital again. But this time, locked away forever. And he refuses to let that happen no matter what. Fuminori then gets assaulted by one of the monster creatures when the monster accidentally ends up spitting some mystery juice on him while speaking. Hey, Fuminori! A spray of stringy slime. Mmm, yummy. From the cilia around its voice box flies at me. I try to cover myself, but too late to keep the slime from splattering across my face like the yolk of a rotten egg. I don't know. This doesn't affect me because I spent like 40 fucking hours playing a game where spraying things on other people's faces were like a normal thing. All he wants to do is grab anything within reach and smash the life out of this mucus ex-human being. But he suppresses his impulse and leaves for a checkup at the hospital while leaving the first bill he can find from his wallet on the table. He flees, telling himself that he's not crazy. I'm not crazy. Lightning shooting from my fingertips. We then switch over to the exact same scene, but from a normal, non-fleshy perspective. We meet Fuminori's 3 friends. First up is Yo Tsukuba. She's a timid girl who self-admittedly isn't very proactive and is known to have a crush on Fuminori. Next up is Omi Takahata. She's a headstrong girl and Yo's best friend, and usually the first to speak up about things that don't sit well with her. Finally, we have Koji Tono, Fuminori's best friend and Omi's girlfriend. This man's jawline can fucking cut through like sheets of steel, dude. Holy shit. I like to call this absolute Chad Sigma male by his real name though, Goji. Goji is a kind-hearted person who seems to look out for his friend's best interests. These 3 seem like such wonderful friends that Fuminori must be really grateful to have in his life. And absolutely nothing will be going wrong at all from here on out. Right, guys? The 3 normal non-squelchy human friends talk about the ski trip while Fuminori just sits there. Yo feels jealousy at Omi and Koji's happy relationship, as she herself is having relationship struggles. She had confessed her feelings to Fuminori, but he had never given her an answer, leaving their relationship status to be in an unfortunate limbo. Koji tries to bring Fuminori into the conversation, but Fuminori is really distant and standoffish. Fuminori then snaps at his friends, gets up and leaves, almost fleeing, while leaving a 10,000 yen bill on the table for his untouched coffee. Or the abandoned 10,000 yen bill. God damn! 10,000 yen for coffee? How much is that? $65? Bro paid $65 for a coffee? Jesus Christ, they're expensive, but they're not that expensive. I mean, okay. It's a little absurd that we pay like $9-10 for a fucking Starbucks drink now, but you know, I don't really go to Starbucks. I'm actually more of a Dunkin' kind of gal, but but that's also like $7 now, dude. It's crazy. After he leaves, Omi says she can't take this anymore, but Koji says that Fuminori just needs more time. Fuminori and his non-fleshy human friends still carry scars from the events of that late summer day. It turns out that Fuminori had lost his entire family after a tractor trailer flipped over on the highway, crushing their car. Fuminori himself didn't seem like he was gonna make it through either, but was miraculously able to leave the hospital and return to a normal life. Well, okay, normal life might be a bit of a lie because home dog seeing flesh and other nasty gunk wherever the he goes, but sure, anyway. We also hear some more tea as Fuminori didn't outright reject Yo. So Koji and Omi teased them about being a couple and whatnot. After Yo confessed, she didn't see Fuminori again until a week later at the ICU, where she could only stare helplessly at Fuminori's broken body, which I can only imagine how upsetting that must be. And now that Fuminori is out of the hospital, he's so different to the point that it makes her wonder if he even remembers the confession. At the hospital, Fuminori converses with his doctor. Dr. Tambo Ryoko has never had a more troublesome patient. Hey, yo! Sorry. I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting, you know, the doctor to look like this, okay? It's not my fault that, like, they drew her thighs, like, to take up half the goddamn screen, bro. Meet Dr. Ryoko Tambo, a top neurosurgeon at T University Medical Center and Fuminori's physician. On the surface, she seems like a pleasant doctor who does her job well, but it's very clear from early on that she knows way more about everything than she lets on. Ryoko asks Fuminori about his condition, and he says nothing's wrong. We find out that Fuminori had received a brain surgery that was the latest in the experimental neurosurgery, so there's always a risk of unexpected complications. There's been reports of serious neurological disorders post-surgery, so they have to monitor his condition carefully. It's too bad because they are way too late on this monitoring thing. And Fuminori has already lost himself in the world of the nastiest gunk you can imagine, but it's okay. Ryoko believes that Fuminori is hiding something from them, but she can't do anything if he won't be honest about it. Ryoko is a surgeon, not a psychiatrist, but even she can sense the thickness of the wall he has erected between himself and the world. I'm sorry, there are so many words that just sound like an innuendo, and this angle, I can't help it. It's just too funny. He erected a wall between them, but something else might... Okay, I'm sorry. This is too much. I've been playing too much School Days, okay? Not everything has to be sexual. I know. It's been a long time since I've seen a character that's legal age. Fuminori then begins to ask her about a certain doctor, Dr. Masahiko Ogai, someone who's presumed to have gone missing. Ryoko's reactions are very suspicious during this questioning as she lies to Fuminori, telling him that Dr. Ogai left the hospital due to personal reasons. Fuminori asks if she knew that he's gone missing, to which she answers no, so fast that it was clear that she knows something more. Fuminori says that a relative of Dr. Ogai's had asked him to look for the missing doctor, and Ryoko asks if this isn't something the police should handle. However, this question is a gamble for Ryoko because if Dr. Ogai's disappearance becomes a police matter, the university would get investigated, and everyone who was involved in the quote-unquote incident would be at risk of exposure. Also, she knows Fuminori is lying about something, because they already made sure that Dr. Ogai had no relatives before bearing the truth anyways. Ryoko worries about Fuminori's condition, and how he could even know about Dr. Ogai in the first place, but there's nothing she can do without him opening up about it all. She writes, "Progress good," on his chart and begins to ask about his next appointment, but Fuminori is already out of the door before she can finish her question. As Fuminori walks through the beautifully designed and wonderfully pleasant fleshy hallways of the hospital, he tells us that he knows this is all in his head. These flesh beasts are actually human. He surmises that he has some sort of agnosia unlike anything that's ever been studied before, and he had to adapt to this condition like someone has to adapt to a hearing aid or a wheelchair. Agnosia, for those of you who don't know, is the inability to interpret sensations and to recognize things, typically as a result of brain damage. An example would be someone being unable to recognize a common object by touch, even though their sight and hearing are completely normal. However, it's not all over. He rushes home as he mentions to us that he has a glimmer of hope. Fuminori gets home. This looks fucking beautiful. Look at the scenery, guys. Oh my god. Wow, look at this beautiful... What is this aesthetic called? Flesh pink? As he goes inside, he's met by a very young-looking girl named Saya. "You're late. I was a little worried." She even has like the Mickey Mouse ears. She is the only person that Fuminori can see as a human being and doesn't trigger his fleshy cognitive disorder. She is very cheery and learning how to cook food for Fuminori, who describes this very, very young-looking girl in such ways of admiration that makes me so genuinely uncomfortable that it makes me want to puke. Saya embraces Fuminori, who says that in all the world, only she is pleasing to his five senses. She is also for some reason happy that Fuminori needs her as well. If he hadn't met Saya, he would have been all alone in this twisted world and would have been driven mad. Saya says she worked on a living room paint and is finishing up his dinner, so Fuminori decides to do some more work in a living room. Wow, what a beautiful living room you have. Oh my god, I love the contrast of colors you set up here. It's the pink and the green is almost nauseatingly beautiful. When Fuminori first got back home from the hospital, they had bought a bunch of paint to cover the walls so Fuminori wouldn't feel sickened by all the flesh and gunk in his own home. Only after painting the walls for the first time did Fuminori get a decent night's sleep after the accident. They even tore down the curtains and painted over the storm shutters. I mean, I don't know about you, but nothing screams sanity more than any of this. The paint smell doesn't bother you? I won't lie, guys. I kind of like the smell of like wet paint. Is that weird? It's strangely like, I don't want to say refreshing because I'm sure that shit's bad for your brain cells or something. But I kind of like the smell, dude. It's so bad. Okay, anyway. Dinner's ready. Saya brings it to Fuminori to eat, but he unfortunately hates how food tastes now and is unable to lie to Saya about how it tastes. He only eats to survive and nothing more, as eating is a painstaking process, probably akin to shoving copious amounts of literal shit down your throat. Oh god. He asks if Saya isn't gonna eat, to which she responds she already has. Their entire time together, Saya has refused to eat with him for some mysterious reason. He tells Saya that he asked about her father again. It turns out that Saya is actually the daughter of Dr. Ogai Masahiko, the missing doctor that Fuminori was looking for. She was the one who had asked Fuminori to unravel the mystery behind his disappearance. Despite the lack of news, Saya seems not really bothered about it, and the two go take a bath together. Is it bath time? What the fuck is this, dude? Yeah, will you wash my back again? Sure. Ever since Saya moved in, it's been like having my own wife. Oh, okay. Okay. Guys, she looks like she's 12. What are we doing here? Not even an hour in and we're starting with this freaky shit. So we really doing this already? This adult really be out here taking a bath with this literal child with Mickey Mouse ears looking ass hair? Get out of here, bro. And it doesn't get any better in the next scene either. How can I repay you? Okay. I don't like this, dude. Why the fuck are they in bed? Are they... Oh, dude. He's like 20, right? And she looks like she's 12. As the two lay in bed, Fuminori reflects on how Saya is the only thing keeping him from going insane and begins to cry as he asks why she goes so far for him. He's losing herself to her more every day and can't live without her. The two embrace in bed as Fuminori asks how he can keep her with him or repay her, and she responds just to keep holding her. They are both all alone, and Fuminori can see loneliness in Saya's eyes, which also now springs boundless affection for him. I want to puke. Holy shit, I want to fucking puke. She says Fuminori is all she has in this world and calls him my precious Fuminori. And as a reminder, this is the remastered version of the game, which ended up cutting out a lot of these so-called H scenes from the original incarnation of the game. I absolutely shudder to imagine what kind of forbidden material used to be in these scenes I just described to you. Anyways, going away from the gross, weird PDF file shit and back to the normal human world, Yo wants to talk to Fuminori and be honest about her feelings. During biology class, she leaves a seat saved next to her so that Fuminori can sit there, but she notices that he's sitting in the corner of the room and leaves immediately after class is over. Did he miss Yo when he came in? No, he couldn't have. No, he's just too busy sleeping with a... I'm not even gonna finish the sentence. Yo chases after him and the two talk as she notices how much weight Fuminori has lost, as if he's under a lot of stress or not getting enough nutrition or both. He looks tense and even afraid as he refuses to look Yo in the eyes. She asks to talk as they go outside. Yo tells him, "You've been acting strange lately. I'm worried about you." Fuminori plays it off as if he's fine, but Yo says it's like there's a terrible weight on his shoulders and it's slowly breaking him down. Fuminori doesn't try to deny any of this anymore as she continues to say, "It's times like these that you need your friends." As Yo continues to talk, we also see Fuminori's perspective on this conversation. That you need your friends. I feel really bad about your parents. Sorry. I know this is a serious moment. The way the text is typed is killing me, dude. It's like looking at like a Reddit argument. I think she looks even prettier like this. What do you mean? Yo, I mean, why does fleshy monster kind of bad though? I mean, I don't know about you, man. Fuminori says she looked better before, but I think she looks just as beautiful as this fleshy monster shape. Yo tells him, "I feel really bad about your parents. I think we can help you so you don't have to deal with it all by yourself. I want to help you. We all do. So please tell me." But Fuminori suddenly cuts her off and verbally eviscerates her. Come to think of it, I never gave you an answer, did I? He remembers. He remembers and he still has treated her coldly. That's all the answer she needs. If his words stab her any deeper, she might very well die. I never saw you in any special way before. When you asked me out, I wasn't sure how to respond. I didn't know how I really felt about you then. Fuminori. But now I can give you an answer. I've had plenty of time to think it over, you know. I hate you, Tsukuba. I don't even want to look at you. Don't cry, Yo tells herself, but too late to stop the tears pouring from her eyes. I suppose it's too much to hope I never see you again. We do go to the same school. So just make this the last time you speak to me, okay? Your voice makes me sick. How can you be so cruel? Yo whispers in shock and despair, to which Fuminori twists his lips into a malevolent smile. You should really try thinking for yourself once in a while. I bet it was Koji and Umi's idea, wasn't it? Well, you can play at love all you want, but leave me out of it. That's all Yo can take. Even after shedding tears in front of him, she absolutely refuses to let him hear her cry. Any disgrace would be preferable to breaking down here. So she runs, fleeing breathlessly from the courtyard with Fuminori's cold smile at her back. See? That's what I'm saying. This guy has lost his fucking mind. It's beyond like saving at this point. I'm sorry. You deserve so much better, Yo. Go for someone who doesn't see you as a ball of like molding flesh. They do say beauty comes in all forms though, you know? As Yo runs away, Omi and Koji had witnessed this entire event happen from a distance. Omi is extremely angry and is itching to punch Fuminori in the face, while Koji holds her back from going sicko mode on Fuminori the entire time. Omi is Yo's best friend, and the four had met because Omi and Koji had started dating in the first place, so she feels a certain responsibility. Koji himself is also unable to forgive what his best friend had just done to Yo, but he's more confused than angry. He's known Fuminori even before university, and he was never this kind of person. This just confirms that the accident really had changed Fuminori. Omi says she's going to go give Fuminori a piece of her mind and asks Koji to take care of Yo, who will need someone to console her after she's done crying. As Fuminori walks home throughout the wonderfully fleshy and squelchy streets of Tokyo, he says he feels awful and miserable, but also refreshed, having become unable to feel anything but disgust for the once human but now just really beautiful and attractive balls of flesh that surround him. It was bound to happen at some point. He knows that everyone will now know that he's had a change of character, but he doesn't care because at least he won't be locked away at the hospital for this. I just need to avoid acting any stranger than I already have. Bro, you're sleeping with what looks like a young child. I feel like you're already acting the strangest you can. There's like no going back from this. I don't know what to tell you. He's glad this might put a rift between him and his squelchy homies because he'll now be avoiding so much stress, saying, "It's like they don't even care that they make my gut turn just by being near me." Yeah, I also hate it when these nasty squelchy creatures that used to be my friends always be invading my personal space and shit. How dare these fucking balls of mucus. Fuminori's been terrified of these shit balls until now, but today he struck fear into one of them. What a beast. He's not entirely without remorse though. He's aware that the creature he had just verbally slain was Yo. He doesn't have a grudge against her and didn't want to hurt her, but he admits that he found her cluelessness irritating as she danced to Koji and Omi's tune, whatever the f that means. However, he knows none of them meant any harm, and back before the world was a fleshy texture pack, he didn't have any reason to hurt others just to get his way. If having a casual relationship with Yo would keep their friend group together, he was willing to make that compromise. But now, he has no more room in his heart for this kind of bullshit. Even talking to one of the fleshbacks was an ordeal. How can anyone expect him to show any kindness? How dare they expect him to be cordial in any way? Who do these fleshy, squelchy balls of mucus, slime, and feces think they even are? Bro's getting really upset at the slime from Dragon Quest, bro. Anyway, Fuminori thinks about going home, but he's exhausted, so he first sits down on a bench and closes his eyes to calm down. We now find out about Fuminori and Saya's first encounter with each other at the hospital. When Fuminori first regained consciousness from the accident, he was blind, but his other four senses seemed to be all fine. Everything changed, however, when his sight returned, and all he saw was a hellish view in front of him. I don't know, man. All this fleshy stuff looks kind of tasty to me, dog. Wait. That's... Sorry. He was able to come to terms with the accident and surgery while blind, but panicked when he first saw the fleshy hell in front of him. If he had recovered his sight even a little earlier, his sanity might have completely shattered. Soon, this disorder took over all of his other senses as well. When the doctor's voices became unrecognizable as human, he decided that he would end his own life because he didn't think he could live for a second in this new, awful world. One night, though, a young girl slips into his room. It's Saya. She was the first actual human that he could actually process and see in this squelchy pink hell of a world. He describes her with a level of admiration that makes me definitely uncomfortable, but as Fuminori sighs in relief, Saya is surprised at his calm reaction, asking if he's not afraid of her. Saya says she's looking for her dad, and as she's about to leave, Fuminori stops her and asks if he can hold her hand, even though he knows it's kind of a weird fucking question to ask, especially to a very young looking girl that he had literally just met. She smiles and obliges, saying no one's ever asked her anything like that before. The two hold hands as he describes it as human warmth and softness. This was when he was saved from his fate. He tells Saya about his condition, and she asks if she can come back the next night, and the two had started meeting every night at 3 a.m. We find out that Saya had been living with her dad until he stopped coming home and decided to sneak into the hospital where he worked and had lived there for over 2 months while searching for his whereabouts. Fuminori describes Saya as a strange girl. She looks and acts like a child, but was remarkably self-reliant, and at times showed really high intelligence and deep knowledge that many might have found unsettling. Fuminori doesn't care though. She was the only other human in a world gone mad, and her existence meant far more to him than the standards of society. AKA, he's okay with being a PDF file at this point. I mean, he can't help it, guys. The world has become flesh, so he has to become a PDF file. It has to be this way, okay? We also learn about what Saya does to entertain herself at the hospital. I looked at a patient list and found the ones who have mental problems, Saya continued, grinning mischievously. Sometimes I sneak into their rooms late at night and scare them. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Even if they raise a fuss, no one believes what mental patients say. This is, girl, you're f***ed up. You're f***ed up. What is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you? They just brush it off as a bad dream. What an absolutely diabolical prank, dude. Gotti! Am I right, y'all? Anyways, this was why Saya came into Fuminori's room the first time, and he tells her she shouldn't do that anymore and to come talk to him instead, an offer she agrees with. Fuminori managed to conceal his sensory disorder from everyone with extreme care. It was obvious that the doctors didn't have a cure. As a medical student, Fuminori knew that if the doctors discovered he was exhibiting such strange side effects from the experimental procedure, he would be turned into a guinea pig and experimented on without any consideration. He refused to be that, so he masked everything to everyone, and Saya had become his pillar of support. On the last night before his release, Fuminori asks asks if Saya wants to come live with him, hastily offering to help look for her missing father to subdue the awkwardness of the question. Saya responds it could be difficult because her dad probably did something bad and had to leave, and they can't get the police involved. She says she'll think about it and leaves earlier than usual. I mean, I don't know, man. Even if Fuminori's condition could be cured, I feel like he's already kind of lost the sauce by asking a child to come move in with him. Not to adopt the girl as any sort of daughter or sister figure, but for far more romantic and sinister reasons, it seems like I can't. I genuinely don't understand why Saya couldn't have been designed as an adult character and not a literal child. I know I sound like a broken goddamn record at this point, but I feel like the story would be the exact same bullshit and the game would be better for it because it's not telling a story about a man who turns into a PDF file and falls in love with, again, a child. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all my opinion, I guess, but there's absolutely no justification in any way to portray a literal child in the way that this game does, okay? It's not art, and any meaningful symbolism or whatever the hell can go eat shit. And again, while this remastered version does cut out a lot of the egregious and illegal ass artwork and scenes, the story itself already makes me want to shudder, and the fact that those scenes have existed and are out there somewhere makes me want to fall into a toilet bowl and get flushed down and live inside of the sewers with the rats, because somehow that sounds less nasty than this entire plot point involving Fuminori's love and infatuation for Saya and how he doesn't care about what society thinks, and this forbidden love is the only thing keeping him going and whatnot. I mean, it shouldn't be about what society thinks and more about you just should not do anything like this with any child no matter what, but whatever, man. Anyone can try to explain away this whole child stuff to me, but regardless, I think it's trashy as hell. Anyway, on the day of his release from the hospital, Fuminori continues to act as normal as he can as his friends come to pick him up. He says it never got easier to see his closest companions change so horribly and had begun to cry, but he convinced everyone they were tears of joy. As he's taken home, he wonders where Saya is. Once dropped off, his house is grotesque and nothing like he remembers. However, when he walked into his childhood bedroom, Saya was sitting there. She asks if she can really stay, and Fuminori responds by hugging her. And that was how this disgusting forbidden love story came to be. I guess you could say he got a flesh start. That was... I'm so sorry. That is not funny. It's not that funny. Anyways, back to the present. Omi furiously heads to Fuminori's house. So this is what the house actually looks like. It's a nice house, but honestly, I kind of prefer the fleshy one better. She notices how unkempt the house is now. The yard overgrown, almost like ruins, and the storm shutters are sealed on the windows. The intercom has been disconnected, and something smells like rotten meat. Omi angrily tries the front door, only to realize that it's completely unlocked. She then walks into the house. The cowbell hanging on the inside of the door chimes loudly. A moment later, welcome home! Oh shit! Dude, that's crazy. Does this mean that Saya is actually a grotesque piece of flesh to everyone else and vice versa for Fuminori? Omi can't believe her ears. The voice she just heard could not have been human, yet its intonations were too complex for any animal she can imagine. Is someone there? She calls out to the end of the hallway from which the voice came. There is no response. Oh, shit, it is! Instead, she hears the sound of something soft and wet flopping its way deeper into the house. Finding it difficult to place a meaningful image to the voice she just heard, Omi stares blankly at the empty vestibule. There's nothing there. Not even Fuminori's shoes, which can only mean that he's still outside somewhere, wearing them. The house should be empty, but what was that voice just now? Oh, shit. Yo, this is getting kind of freaky. Her anger has vanished as if it were never there. Nevertheless, Omi sets foot into the hallway, leaving the door open so that the cowbell won't ring. She hears a bubbling sound up ahead. Stepping gingerly on the creaking floorboards, Omi makes her way to the end of the hallway. She finds rooms to both sides of her, one lit, the other dark, and chooses to look into the lit room. It's the kitchen, lit by what must be the only window in the house not covered by a storm shutter. The sound she heard was the pot boiling on the stove, and the chopping board next to it lie a butcher's knife and some half-diced carrots. Something is wrong. Who was cooking here, and where did they go? Is anyone here? Omi calls, regretting it immediately as she realizes that her voice is shaking. Suddenly, she feels something cold seeping through her pantyhose. She timidly reaches down to touch her feet. Her fingertips come away covered with a viscous olive green slime, like the filthy water from a tank long clogged with algae and dead fish. The whole floor is covered with it. It must be the source of the stench. When she looks back ruefully the way she came, she realizes that her current position is not visible from the entrance. The kitchen must be where that strange voice came from. Omi, no! Omi, no! The next room is probably the den. As she expected from the closed storm shutters, it's pitch black inside. Omi wants nothing more than flee this house, but that would mean turning her back to the darkness, and that she simply cannot bring herself to do. Why don't you just walk backwards? Like, can't you just walk back? Sorry, is that too simple? Just walk backwards. That way you're just looking at the darkness the entire time, moved by some irrational compulsion. Omi sets foot into the den. Are we gonna have our first death scene or something? She slides her hand along the wall, feeling for the light switch. Finding it much sooner than she expected, she flips it on like it's her last hope. The colors. The colors. So many colors. The colors say all that needs to be said about the painter's hatred, malice, and insanity. Omi's legs give out from the shock, sending her to the floor. Slime immediately soaks through her jeans, its cold tendrils creeping up her legs, crotch, and her neck. Her hand flies to her neck, where it's greeted by another drop of chilly slime above her. Something is dripping down on her head, making perhaps the worst decision of her life. Omi looks up. The predator, clinging to the ceiling, poised to leap upon his prey. She sees it in every detail. Her mouth and nose are shielded because oh my god, what? What? Her mouth and nose are sealed from before she can scream, and her belly is torn open as something enters to feast on her innards. But by the time she feels any of this, Omi had already gone mad. I mean, poor Omi, dude. Girl's just trying to stand up for her heartbroken girlie, only to get gobble by some mysterious slimy creature that nests itself in one of her homies' houses, dude. Justice for Omi, please. Also, the paint on the walls in Fuminori's living room would probably make Van Gogh jealous on how insane this man is, dude. Van Gogh about to go for his other ear just to catch up to Fuminori's level. Anyways, Fuminori gets home and is worried if Saya has been waiting for too long and if she might be mad. I mean, PDF file problems, am I right? He sees that the front door is open and walks in and hears someone smacking their lips. He enters the living room to find the floor covered with some kind of grass and fruits and vegetable-like balls scattered everywhere, and sees Saya munching on some shit in front of him. He calls out to her and she's shocked, unable to reply to his question of what she's eating. Fuminori suddenly asks if he can also have one of these delicious-looking fruits or vegetable-like things on the ground. Can I have one? I scoop up the closest fruit thing and pop it into my mouth. Yo, he's eating her body. Omi deserved better, dude. What the fuck? He says it's like a peach or a pear, unlike anything he's ever tasted. He asks how she made this, and Chef Saya responds she just took it apart and melted it a little to make it easier to eat, but it's practically raw. It's fucking raw! Fuminori continues to gobble up more lumps from the ground and tells Saya not only can he eat this, it's scrumptiddly-umptious, absolutely delicious, wonderful, even better than mama. Saya laughs as Fuminori asks her if this is what she always be eating, and she says yes. But it's been a while since she's had one so big. She usually catches them in the nearby park, which sounds very ominous. Fuminori believes she's talking about a nature reserve or something at first, but then recognizes that these aren't actually fruits or vegetables and are actually something else. The two decide to store the rest of the food in the fridge as Fuminori says he's little by little regaining the joy of living. Saya will guide him. With her, he can live on. So by this point, I'm sure it's probably clear to everyone on the planet, but just to completely clarify, Saya is clearly not a human being and is actually a fleshy, squelchy, mucus-like creature in reality, and people without Fuminori's flesh nausea or agnosia or whatever perceives her as she actually is. So basically everybody else but Fuminori. Saya killed Omi and is obviously munching on her insides and probably catches some kind of animal or whatever at a nearby park to keep herself fed otherwise. Meanwhile, Fuminori, because of his neurological disorder, sees Saya as a human being while the rest of the world has turned into whatever Saya actually looks like, a slimy ball of whatever, and Fuminori now has similar tastes as her, enjoying the taste of human wagyu or whatever the hell. Anyways, we now cut to an article from some kind of newsletter about true scary stories. This one is titled The Monster in the Hospital. Strange things started happening at the hospital around the end of last spring. Patients screaming in the middle of the night spoke of terrifying nightmares. Many had to be sedated, others transferred to a different hospital. These patients all had the same dream, a horribly disgusting monster staring down at them from their bedside. Yeah, it's just this random girl who's just going for all the mentally ill patients and like scaring the shit out of them at night, dude. I'm sorry, it's not that fun. It's not that funny. But the concept of this girl just being like, oh, these people have mental issues. Let's sneak into their room at 3 a.m. and give them a fucking surprise of their life. Especially considering, because I'm sure she looks like a monster to everyone else that's not the main character. Really trying to add to their trauma. Stray cats started disappearing from around the school campus, and dogs refused to go near the school. Even the hospital started noticing things going missing. Transplant organs kept disappearing from storage. People came close to losing their jobs over it. Oh shit, wasn't Saya kind of like, didn't she mention earlier like, yeah, the food here's really good. Yeah, there's a whole ass cafeteria for just her, dude. All the organs stored in there. Yum yum yum. It's like going to Golden Coral. I've been to a Golden Coral once, and it was kind of horrifying. Rumors began to spread that something was living in the hospital. The custodians would find strange messes that could only have been made in the middle of the night. Traces of something that had crawled down the hallway, or weird stains caused by something dripping through the ceiling. Oh god. I just imagine some gross dude creeping up in the ceiling tiles and checking off. Sorry. That is so inappropriate. Okay, anyway, sorry. Anyway, the late shift nurses talked about hearing strange noises on the same nights patients woke up screaming. Then one day, allegedly, a newborn had gone missing, but no investigation was done by the police, as if the higher-ups made it all go away somehow. All of this terrifying stuff had stopped suddenly towards the end of the summer. I mean, I don't think I need to really explain it much, but obviously, this is about Saya and her harassment of the poor patients in the hospital, and obviously everything stopped once Fuminori decided to turn into a neurologically deranged PDF file and took the little slime girl home with him. Back in the university cafeteria, Koji and Yo are worried about Omi, who seems to have disappeared. It's been 3 days since they've stopped being able to get in touch with her, and her parents had already filed a missing persons report. Koji says she'll probably turn up, but Yo is bothered both by Omi's disappearance and the incident with Fuminori. Their conversations are curt and awkward as the bell for next class rings. Koji leaves reluctantly as Yo sits there and stares into space. Koji walks through the hallways as he worries about his friends. He had questioned Fuminori when Omi first went missing, but Fuminori denied knowing anything. He acted like he hadn't the slightest idea why Omi would even go to see him in the first place. Which, okay, it kind of makes sense since he doesn't know that Koji and Omi were watching him take a massive shit on Yo earlier. But anyway, Koji had tried to smoke a bunch of copium to deny the possibility that Fuminori could have been involved with Omi's disappearance, but conflict and suspicion were building up in his subconscious. As he thinks about all of this, Koji spots Fuminori from a distance. Despite having a required course after this, Fuminori seems like he's heading home. Suspicious, Koji decides to follow him around. As Koji follows Fuminori, his actions become more and more suspicious, and Koji starts to feel as though Fuminori's sudden change in character was more than just the accident. Something else is going on here. Fuminori gets off at a small station in a random and desolate suburb of Tokyo. He walks towards a house and enters it without ringing a bell or knocking. Koji ends up waiting outside the house for a while, but not before looking at the nameplate of the home, which reads Ogai. This seems to have been Saya and her father's home before he had gone missing. As time passes and Koji runs out of cigarettes to smoke, Fuminori finally emerges from the house and heads back towards the station. Koji decides that investigating the house is more important than following Fuminori and enters the Ogai home. Yo, if Koji dies, I'm gonna be a little upset because he seems cool so far. Okay. Omi seemed interesting, but she's dead. She's not dead. She lives on inside their fridge, you know, as their delicious fruits and vegetable meals. I feel bad for Yo, because Yo didn't seem to do anything wrong. She just got bitched at by her boy. Koji seems like such a cool dude, you know? He gives me like a JoJo vibe, so I'm like, please don't die yet, Koji. And please don't turn out to be a piece of shit. I played School Days for months. I hated everyone in that goddamn game. All the characters sucked. I'm hoping I can play a game where I don't hate every single character, you know what I'm saying? I want to like at least one person in the game, please. Even if the game itself is disgusting, can't there be one character where I'm like, fuck yeah? Koji uses his lighter to try and see through the house. He enters with his shoes on. Shoes on in the house, Koji? Come on, man. It's very clear the home has been untouched for a long time, as there are noticeable smells and dust. Koji finds evidence of life remaining in the living room, furniture, tableware. Koji thinks to himself that no one might be living here, but that doesn't necessarily mean the owner left. Maybe he was murdered and left in the house to rot. Koji goes up to the second floor and finds a study with a vast number of books. According to the books, it's clear this study belongs to a high-level medical professional. There's also evidence that Fuminori had been spending time here looking for something. Koji spots a few books on the side table that seem to be different from the rest of the books. The titles are meaningless to him. Don't make me pronounce this shit, dog. Traite des chiffres. How do you say this? Traite des chiffres. I'm sorry. Traite des chiffres appears to concern semiotics, but Ars Magna et Ultima is some kind of treatise? Wow. My English reading skills are fucking collapsing, dog. They're becoming melty and fleshy like all the characters in the game. Divination? And then there's the Voynich manuscript, which looks like some sort of picture book. When he pages through it, he finds the text utterly incomprehensible. Koji then finds a flashlight underneath the chair, and as he uses it, he notices notices something he hadn't been able to see before from just a lighter. There are dark, oily stains everywhere. Some kind of gross, slime-like substance all over the walls and the floors. Koji begins to feel sick as he imagines a man shambling through the house with slime dripping from his body. Isn't that like a term of endearment though? Like, what's up, my slime? Sorry. It just makes so much sense in this game because everyone's turning into slime or some shit, you know? I don't know. They talk about slime a lot, so technically Koji is still Fuminori's slime, right? The only difference is he physically just became slime, but there's anyway, sorry. This is not funny. Let's move on. He goes back to the first floor. The living room seems to be covered in even more slime than the rest of the house. Koji then enters the bathroom where he finds a mountain of bones, black with dry flesh and blood. The bones are too small to be human, and there are a lot of them. They've all been covered with deep marks left by teeth biting through flesh. Koji doesn't even want to believe a human could have done this. A million questions pop up in his head about these mysterious bones until he wonders what Fuminori was doing there in the first place. What the hell was Fuminori doing here? Oh, he just fucking spawned. Yo, that scared the shit out of me. Oh my god. Oh, I almost shit my pants. The best jump scares are ones that don't go like As Koji and I both shit our pants, Fuminori asks him, "What's wrong, Koji?" He tells Koji that one of his slimes lives here and that he's running an errand. Get it? Because Saya's literally some kind of slime. Anyway, Koji asks him who this person is, as he doesn't want to believe that the Fuminori he's known for years could have contact with whoever the hell was living in this godforsaken house. Fuminori says he'll introduce Koji one of these days, saying he owes her his life. I have no idea which scenario would be worse. If one of my homies introduced me to his new girlfriend and it turned out to be a sludgy, gross slime monster or a literal child. Oh god. That's not funny, but oh my god. I mean, neither are good scenarios, but they're both absolutely horrifying in so many ways. Except I guess one of them is rooted in reality and the other's not possible. So anyway, Koji, after gathering himself, asks Fuminori if this friend is why he's been acting so strange. Fuminori only looks at him coldly and tells Koji that he's starting to bother him and to never follow him around again, to which Koji reluctantly agrees. Koji wonders if the Fuminori he knew no longer exists and if this sus-ass weirdo is just an imposter wearing Fuminori's skin. Fuminori heads back home and he's irritated as fuck at Koji for sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. If Koji keeps this up, Fuminori might have to find a way to deal with him in a more permanent way. The search for Ogai has to be kept a secret, and Koji could ruin everything he's worked for. He plans to return to the Ogai residence again, as he wasn't able to fully investigate the place earlier. Saya didn't think he'd find anything at the house, but it's not a 0% chance. The problem now, however, is Koji. Koji, the meddling little shit, must now be dealt with. That's what Fuminori's thinking, by the way, okay? Not me. Koji is still and forever will be Goat-G to me, okay? As Fuminori walks towards his house, he's approached by another ball of mucus flesh shit whatever gunk fest. Excuse me! The creature who emitted the most disgusting war cry ever is his neighbor Suzumi, a middle-aged painter. They hadn't talked since the accident, and Fuminori wonders why he's even talking to him now. Suzumi then starts to talk to Fuminori about his situation. Have you gotten used to living alone? Yes, thank you for your help. I know it must be very difficult, but you're still young. You have to try to move on with your life. Yeah, what is this? Did he just stop me just to deliver a lecture? With such a big house, it must be hard to take care of everything by yourself. I feel like I need to take this more seriously, I swear. Why not hire a caretaker? Did it sure rather have one? Fuminori barely holds it together, as inside, he tries not to snap. How dare this goddamn ball of mucus tell him to clean up his yard? It's as if this disgusting congealment of flesh and feces is worried about how Fuminori's messy yard will diminish his own house's image. A damn snob, this little ball of literal shit, as I tell you. At least, that's what Fuminori thinks about Suzumi in his mind, as he flashes his token smile and walks into his house. I flash a token smile, then retreat behind the safety of my gate. This is what it's like to work in food service. I meant customer service. Obviously, that's a joke. I'm just saying it because, like, some days in customer service jobs I used to work at, it would just be fucking miserable. And I would just, like, flash my token smile. That's why I thought of it, okay? I don't actually think this way when I work at food service, okay? Or when I worked customer service, okay? I was friendly because I was trying to be friendly. But sometimes customers would just be a little too fucking much for their own good, okay? And if you worked customer service, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? When it's, like, busy as hell and, like, customers are just being bitchy or just like, yeah, okay, have a nice day. And then, like, you turn around, you're like, fuck you, I hate you. Like, okay, Bertha, I get it. I know your coffee is a little too hot. Why don't you just wait a little bit? Give it a few minutes so it cools down. And I'm being triggered right now. I'm just remembering a bunch of like my cafe jobs and I'm like, ooh. Fuminori is frustrated that people won't leave him alone. And he just wants to live his peaceful PDF file deviant ass lifestyle together with Saya and no one else. The best way for me to put it, even if I was to go through the most traumatic, the most horrific thing, and the way I perceive the world changes completely to the point where everything is disgusting to look at, I still would rather struggle with this than be a PDF file. That's that's what I was saying. I just don't think there's any excuse. Anyways, we then shift to Suzumi's perspective as he watches Fuminori walk into his house. Suzumi is annoyed and confused by this goddamn young whippersnapper's attitude. Before the accident, he's been a little shy, but sensitive and caring. Now, Fuminori keeps his eyes averted as if to avoid looking at something repulsive. Suzumi wonders if it's too late for Fuminori's mental state, as he and his wife discuss their neighbor's strange behavior and messy-ass house while eating dinner with their kid. They both worry as they talk about the funky smell emanating from his house, as well as the storm shutters always being closed. What in the hell is going on in that house? A Smash Bros tournament? Back to Fuminori's perspective. This dude begins to absolutely freak out and panic as he realizes that Saya isn't home, despite it being 5 in the morning. Fuminori continues to melt down over this for a while until Saya arrives home with a huge bundle of paper in her hands. It turns out that Saya had stolen Fuminori's medical charts and surgery records from the hospital in order to study them. As Saya vigorously studies the papers, Fuminori asks if she even understands this stuff, to which she responds that she's learned a lot from her dad. She rapidly reads his charts and seems to actually understand everything that's written on them. She then says that his condition indeed can't be fixed, at least not by a human doctor. Saya says this might be hard even for her, and she's gonna have to quote-unquote experiment first, whatever the hell that means. However, Fuminori says he's tired, so Saya abandons the studying ship real fast. Saya tosses aside the papers she was sorting, then leaps on me and And guys, just get ready for one of the most disgusting and sickening conversations you'll hear between a neurologically fucked up PDF file and a flesh slimy child. As Saya pounces onto Fuminori, he asks her, "Don't you think it's unhealthy to be doing this every day?" Ugh. Saya asks him if he's sick and he responds, "No, not me. My body's all grown up, but you're ... Ugh. Despite his concerns, Saya continues forward as Fuminori says they haven't even used contraception. What the fuck, dude? Why on God's green and blue ass earth is this conversation necessary in any way? Oh my god. Saya then asks if Fuminori doesn't want her to have his children. "You don't want me to have your children?" God, how can I respond to that? Well, a normal, well, I guess he's not technically normal, but like a non-PDF file would be like, "No, because you're a child." Fuminori responds her body is too small and pregnancy is a serious burden, to which Saya says he doesn't have to worry about that, a sentence Fuminori doesn't understand. Anyways, Saya starts to do intimate things to Fuminori. Jesus Christ. Now, in the remastered version of the game that I played, it thankfully cuts to right after all the gross shit is done, but I'm pretty sure in the original game, there were a bunch of really disgusting and illegal ass art and scenarios being depicted in this section of the game. Who's actually enjoying this? Anyways, after they're done being disgusting, the two talk in bed as Fuminori says he welcomes the idea of Saya bearing his child, assuming the two will be left alone by society. The two say they like it as long as the other is okay with it. Fuminori then questions, "Can this tiny girl and I really live as husband and wife?" I feel a pang of self-loathing at the question. How can I not because you're a PDF file, basically, at this point. That's not why he's self-loathing. He doesn't care about that. I'm not gonna excuse this behavior just because like his neurological brain is fucked or whatever. Neurological brain? Is that even a term? Neurological means it's about the brain. I'm losing it. I'm losing it. This is driving me crazy. As I try my hardest not to vomit all over the place, Fuminori says he needs to rid himself of the useless trappings of morality and that he and Saya are all that matters in this world. He now wants to find Dr. Ogai as soon as possible. They always say like, "Oh, morality. I don't care about morality anymore." But it's like, you just don't want to say that you're a PDF file. Or that's like, tell me you're a PDF file without saying you're a PDF file. That's some stupid ass writing, bro. I'm sorry. That's just like an excuse. Meanwhile, we go back to Suzumi's perspective. After dropping his wife and daughter off at work and school, he begins to do some painting and housework. He seems like a pretty regular dude with a pretty solid life. It's finally time to sit down at his easel. Is he a house husband? Is he a house hubby? Honestly, dude, I want to be a house hubby. That sounds so nice. Anyway, he and his wife make enough money to live comfortably, and the house is a point of pride for him. Just as he knows the length of his fingernails in the time since his last meal, he also knows everything about his home home's condition, the status of every door, the freshness of every flower, the amount of ice in the ice tray, every last detail. Wow, the game introduced a happy and peaceful family into the story. Surely absolutely nothing will go wrong and they'll get to live out the rest of their lives in peace and harmony, right? As he paints, Suzumi realizes he has to run some errands, so he heads downstairs to leave when suddenly he feels a chill breeze out of nowhere. He's sure the windows have all been closed, so what was that? A breeze? Impossible. Every window in the house is closed. Yosuke shut them himself during his morning cleaning. And he knows every inch of this house. He knows the ice trays. He knows the doors, the condition, the freshness of the flowers. He knows every single inch and every single corner and crevice. He knows which corners he's nutted into and which... Suzumi enters the living room and smells something real bad and sees that someone had come into the house through the window. Angry and afraid, Yosuke grabs an ashtray to fend off whoever might be lurking in his home. Suspecting the guest room, he goes inside as the stench gets even worse. However, seeing that no one is in the guest room, Suzumi relaxes, the exhaustion of sudden relief coming over him. And that is when something seizes his ankle. The instant he freezes in shock, his leg is yanked down from under him, sending him crashing to the floor. Stars explode behind his eyes as his head smacks against the door rail. The hand, if it can even be called that, wrapped around Yosuke's ankle, extends all the way back to beneath the living room sofa. There are barely 5 centimeters between the sofa and the floor. Whatever is hiding there, it can't possibly be human. Ah! Ah! Sorry. Before the screaming Yosuke can regain his footing, countless hand-like appendages seize his arms and legs, rendering him helpless. Calm down! Don't be scared! As the hideous voice burbles in his ear, something soft and cold crawls atop him. Yosuke can't even scream, his terror is so great. It won't hurt! Don't be scared! It won't hurt! Thin, tube-like appendages penetrate his ears and nose, wriggling deep into his skull. Right before the sensation drives him mad, Yosuke loses consciousness. Meanwhile, Koji and Yo meet with Dr. Ryoko Tambo to ask what's going on with Fuminori. However, Ryoko herself doesn't know either, as Fuminori hadn't come into his checkup 2 days ago. Koji realizes that's the same day he was searching the abandoned Ogai home and tells Ryoko that Fuminori's been real messed up and not been the same since the accident, like a completely different person. As they ask Ryoko for help, she tells them that Fuminori's files were stolen from the hospital 2 nights ago. As she asks the 2 confused college students if they might know who would have done such a thing, Koji brings up Dr. Ogai, and Ryoko's expression completely shifts. She tells them that Dr. Ogai used to teach at this hospital but was dismissed over 6 months ago following certain incidents, but she can't say any more than that. Koji tells her that Fuminori might be involved in a crime, which Yo is also surprised to hear. Koji brings up Omi's disappearance and how Fuminori might be involved, and how Dr. Ogai seems to be at the center of his attention now. As Koji begs Ryoko to tell them what happened at the hospital, she says she can't make this decision on her own. Ryoko decides she'll investigate this as they trade cell phone numbers. Suzumi, the house hubby artist, wakes up to a nightmarish world. A world full of flesh, mucus, slime, gunk, whatever the hell other word you can use to describe some slimy shit. He begins to panic and goes completely insane as he tries to gather his surroundings. He realizes the place he's in has the same layout as his house and sees that his painting stuff is replaced by bones and other human body parts. The tips of his paintbrushes had turned into literal penises and the canvases are being painted in white. I'm so sorry. That's not canon. That's just a stupid joke. As he tries to wake himself from this nightmare, he hears the front door open and hears a monstrous voice say that they're home. It's clearly his family, but Suzumi believes it's the tentacle monster that slid into his brain earlier. Suzumi grabs a bone with a sharp edge, and as one of the monsters enters his room, he attacks it and kills it. Suzumi, without realizing, had killed his own wife. Now driven by murderous intent and taste for violence, he sees a smaller monster who runs away. He grins maniacally and chases down this smaller monster, and as this creature cries out for him to stop, Yosuke violently kills it in a frenzy. In Minecraft! Unfortunately for Suzumi though, slaying these 2 flesh demons doesn't seem to wake him from this nightmare. Honestly, this is all really tragic and fucked up because it's his own family and he clearly doesn't know what's going on, and these 3 were victimized by a situation that they never should have been involved with in the first place. However, I also liked Suzumi at first, you know, because he's a house hubby, which is a career path I aspire for, and he seemed like a chill guy with like a regular family and whatnot. But, you know, I don't think I've ever switched up on a character faster than this guy, and you'll see what I mean because for this next scene, I straight up gotta include a trigger warning, as I'd say it's the most shocking, repulsive, and also the most unnecessary moment in the entire game in my opinion. Suzumi goes outside only to see that the entire world had shifted into a fleshy realm. As he realizes that there's no escape from this nightmare, Suzumi's sanity completely shatters. Saya then comes up to him, and she's the only thing that Suzumi can register as being remotely human. Suzumi is able to see her as a young girl now, to which Saya says the experiment is a success. However, as he stares at Saya, Suzumi awakens to some real sickening bullshit. Yosuke feels a sudden Really? Really? We're really doing this again? What, does this neurological disorder makes you perceive the world as fleshy and gross and disgusting? But also it just makes you a PDF file? Is that what this does? Is this the disease that we're talking about here? Yosuke begins to violently grab at Saya and tears her clothes off, which terrifies Saya as she runs away into the house. Suzumi then chases after her, and well, I don't really think I need to say anything more, nor do I want to describe this any more than I have to. Okay, I gotta censor that too. Holy shit. I don't even want to read this. What the fuck is this? Holy shit. Okay. I think this is like the second or third hour of the game that I'm playing right now. Jesus Christ. We're really doing this? Why do we need to go down that route? Why can't we just have nice things, man? Like, why can't we just tell the story without having any children involved in this way? You can still tell the same story. It doesn't have to be a Saya says it wasn't supposed to be this way as she cries and calls out for Fuminori. I absolutely shudder to think what kind of disgusting ass bullshit might have been in this scene in the original game. Meanwhile, Fuminori rushes home, excited to see Saya. He had found something at the Ogai house, an envelope containing 3 photographs of buildings with the locations written on the back. These photos are all dated more than 10 years ago, and maybe Saya will be able to make sense of them. However, as he gets home, he sees that the front door is open and hears Saya crying, as well as a low, wet noise. Fuminori rushes in to see a grotesque monster putting itself all over Saya. Seeing this sends Fuminori into a frenzy. What the fuck? I definitely can't show this. Oh, no. Get this shit off my screen. As he angrily grabs a meat cleaver and absolutely pulverizes the creature in front of him. Saya cries and hugs Fuminori, telling him she was scared. Fuminori blames the world and himself for not being able to protect her as Saya continually apologizes. Fuminori says it's not her fault, but she says it is as she reveals that she was able to make Suzumi's brain just like Fuminori's. Saya then reveals that she's able to change the bodies of other living things as long as she's able to study the organism's biology in detail. Through researching, she was able to determine what happened to Fuminori's brain and wanted to see if she could do the same thing to someone else, because maybe if everyone was like Fuminori, they would all be kind to her. Unfortunately, that was not the case with Suzumi, who easily managed to go from being one of the chillest, coolest guys in the room to an absolutely repulsive and sickening monster in 2 seconds. And before I move on, I need to take a moment to talk about, well, everything that's just fucking happened and has been happening. Like, what the hell is this garbage? I think this specific scene was the moment where this game officially completely died in my eyes. As I said before, this game has an intriguing premise, some pretty good horror elements, and hell, even some pretty solid character writing moments, which is very unlike a lot of the other stuff I tend to talk about on my channel. But no amount of any good aspects of this game can justify any of this weird ass, gross ass bullshit. It was already gross as hell to me that there are multiple scenes depicting Fuminori, an adult, and Saya, who is portrayed as a child and described as a child multiple times, have these conversations that no adult should ever be having with any goddamn child ever. And to me, it feels like the game almost tries to explain away him turning into a PDF file by saying, oh, he was totally a kind guy before. It's just that this neurological issue forced him into a corner to become a PDF file. He was driven to this. And while I can understand and agree that Fuminori himself is initially a victim who went through a horrific tragedy that completely changed him, the choices that he makes after the accident are still just that, choices. And while I don't think this game necessarily endorses this kind of behavior or justifies it to the extent of saying it's okay, I feel like the lines get blurred somewhat. It's gross to me how it kind of feels like this game is trying to make you feel somewhat sympathy for someone who is committing literal PDF file actions, when the bottom line is none of that is okay in any way. Sure, Fuminori himself is a victim of a horrible situation, but only to a certain extent in my opinion. The game tends to describe this whole thing as screw societal norms, screw what everyone else thinks, to portray it as something that is wrong, but it also feels like the writing feels wishy-washy when it comes to this topic, as there's never really a moment that fully tells the player that this is wrong, don't be a PDF file. And sure, maybe I'm reading into it a bit too much, but you also gotta consider the fact that before the remastered version of this game was released, it straight up did include some really nasty imagery and scenarios. Please tell me exactly what purpose a drawing like that serves in any meaningful way. Because to me, the fact that these scenes and drawings exist out there already feels like the exact opposite messaging of this is not okay. And taking it out of the game doesn't really change that, in my opinion. opinion because it's still part of the story. It's still part of the backbone of this entire game. Also, I just need to bring up how completely unnecessary that entire SA scene was. What the hell was that? Sure, it's horrific, but it's horror in the most repulsive, sickening way. I don't even have words that can describe how this scene makes me feel. All I can really think is, why? Why was this scene included? What purpose does it serve? It's just all around disgusting, and at the end of the day, feels more included for shock value than anything else, which to me makes this whole thing even worse. I feel like you could have told the same exact story without having to go this far. Why can't Saya be an adult? Why can't she be designed as an adult character? Why does she have to be a child? And if she was to be a child, why does Fuminori have to end up doing illegal and disgusting shit with her? Why can't she be like a younger sister figure for him? And why does Suzumi have to try and essay her? Why can't he just, I don't know, try to kill her or chase her around like a deranged horror movie monster? I just think the fact that you can definitely tell the same story while replacing all of these disgusting ass elements and plot points says a lot. I don't know. I mean, this is all my opinion at the end of the day, but I think I'm gonna move on from this topic here because this is all heavy as hell, and I feel like I've said all I can really say. Back to the story, Fuminori and Saya reaffirm their love for each other as they begin to kiss and whatever. Fuminori realizes that there was something he had to tell her, something really important, and as he's about to say the forbidden words, Saya stops him. She asks him what he really wants, revealing that she can turn his brain back to normal, and it's really simple. Fuminori is taken back by this as Saya asks if he wants to return to his old life. Now the player has to make a choice between restoring Fuminori's brain back to normal or choosing to let him stay on this absolutely disgusting path, fully committing to being a nasty-ass PDF file who can only see flesh and mucus everywhere. Anyways, to reach the first possible ending of this game, you have to choose to restore Fuminori's brain back to normal. I'm pretty sure this is called the back to normal ending. Fuminori answers Saya's question without thinking. Well, of course. However, then, he starts to wonder what this would do to him and Saya's relationship, and his true feelings become unclear. Saya, seeming sorrowful but also relieved, says, yeah, of course you would. Saya then stops Fuminori from saying anymore as she begins to kiss him and I guess use her tongue to scramble his brain or something, I guess. Weird Lovecraftian love science or whatever. As Fuminori tries to tell her he loves her, he falls into a slumber as Saya tells him to not worry and that it'll all be over when he wakes up. Fuminori wakes up to see that the world has returned to normal. He sees Suzumi's corpse covered in flies, but Saya is nowhere to be seen. After looking for her to no avail, he calls the police and begins to cry as it's been so long since he heard another human's voice. Unable to explain the murders of the Suzumi family, they arrested him for all 3 murders. They also found Omi's remains in his house, which added a 4th to his charges. He told the authorities the truth in detail. The detectives didn't believe him, but the doctor who came later did, and he had Fuminori moved from a jail to a much cleaner white room. In the end, they declared him incapable of answering for his actions. Fuminori is sad he's not believed, but it can't be helped. He's grateful that at least his room is white, just like how everyone else sees it. Everyone else says there was never any girl named Saya. He awakens one night to the sound of something slithering down the hallway. It's Saya. He calls out to her, but she doesn't respond, and he asks why she won't let him hear her voice. A phone slips through the peephole with a text. My voice will sound strange to you. As Fuminori asks to hear her, she types, please, let me stay the Saya you remember. Fuminori says he suspected Saya wasn't what he perceived her as, just like everyone else. And now, she doesn't want him to see how she truly looks. Fuminori accepts this and respects her wishes as he mentioned that he tried to tell Saya something important that day and types it into the phone. G-H-I... Jake, okay, I know he's gonna say, I love you. He can tell that Saya is crying outside of the door. The two conclude that they were too afraid to commit to each other fully. As Saya tells him she's gonna look for her father. The two say goodbye as Fuminori says he'll always be here whenever she wants to visit. Saya says thank you and goodbye, and Fuminori says goodbye back as she gently slaps the door in response. As some time passes, Fuminori has been waiting for her ever since that day. Maybe Saya really did return to where she came from, or maybe she's still wandering. He says that when she can't be alone anymore, she will return to him. And so he waits, dreaming of her face and her voice. He waits forever in this white world. And the first ending comes to a close. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was kind of expected at this point that even if Fuminori was to return to normalcy, he's already gone way too fucking far with everything he's done. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know which one, this is actually considered to be the quote-unquote happiest ending we can achieve in the game. And if the happiest ending means Omi dies, the entire Suzumi family's wiped out, and Fuminori turned into a PDF file murderer and is locked up for the rest of his life while Saya wanders in search for her missing father after going through a horrific incident, then the word happy might as well just stop existing in a dictionary. Anyways, let's get back to the story. If you choose the other option to have Fuminori commit to this completely degenerate lifestyle, well, things only get worse from here. Fuminori decides that he doesn't need his old life anymore and asks Saya who the creature he just pulverized was, and she reveals to him that it was Suzumi. Despite being neighbors for a long time and being on good terms with him, Fuminori doesn't feel much about what he had just done, but Fuminori decides to take it a step step further by calling Suzumi a creature whose mere existence was nauseating, and only by killing the vermin, Fuminori can finally find relief. I don't know, I mean, no one's winning here. Everyone's just fucked in the head and gone crazy at this point. As Fuminori realizes how calm he is with another man's blood on his hands, he now recognizes what he lost in the accident, and he can never get it back, just like Suzumi's life can never be brought back. He then says to Saya, "You can do what no human is capable of. You're not human, are you?" Recognizes that he sees Saya just like he sees everything else, as something other than what she really is. However, this doesn't change what they are to each other. There's still a PDF file murderer and a slimy oozing child creature thing. Yup. Fuminori realizes that Suzumi's blood and guts actually smell good, and realizes what the fruits and veggies he was eating before actually is. But he's completely unbothered by this fact. He reaffirms his love and commitment to Saya as he goes through Suzumi's body parts, and he tells her they should store it in the fridge. He also says they should get his wife and daughter before they go to the police, to which Saya mentions that she thinks they're dead because she heard them screaming earlier. Fuminori then decides they could go gather the meat from the Suzumi household and store all of this wonderful, delicious human wagyu in both houses' fridges. Anyway, the two hug and say their love for each other and whatever, who cares? Anyways, the two discuss the photos Fuminori found from the Ogai house. Saya seems to recognize one of them and says she's definitely been there. Fuminori decides to check the place out tomorrow as Saya gets pouty about this, and we get another one of these scenes where the two are in bed together and whatever, and it's just the worst. As Fuminori says he will only be gone for half the day, Saya surprisingly says, "Let's forget about dad." She reveals that he's not actually her biological father, but he taught her a lot and probably loved her in his own way. Fuminori is kinder and warmer to her. Fuminori, however, responds that he still wants to meet Dr. Ogai, since he wants to get to know Saya better, and he has to meet anyone who knows more about Saya than he himself does. Fuminori then hatches a plan for the cabin search. Even if he doesn't find Dr. Ogai there, he could use this cabin for another, more sinister objective. Saya then asks if Fuminori would want a family and friends around, and says she'll find something to make him happy just for him. On another day, Koji finishes up his classes, and on his way to meet Yo for lunch, he gets a call from Fuminori. On his way to meet Yo for lunch after his final lecture, Koji suddenly gets a call in the middle of the hallway. Without thinking, he reaches for his belt to his new camera phone, but curses when he realizes that the ringtone is coming from the old phone in his bag. He hasn't transferred his contacts list yet, and Jesus Christ, shut the fuck up, I know. He asks Koji to come to the parking lot to talk about something, feeling as though something is wrong, which is very understandable considering Fuminori had been avoiding his friends and they haven't spoken since that one incident at the Ogai household. Koji meets up with Fuminori, who tells him they should work together on looking for Dr. Ogai, as things are getting more complicated. Fuminori seems way more relaxed than before, which somehow makes Koji more anxious than anything else. Fuminori then asks Koji to drive. Well, where are we going? North Tochigi near the Nasu Heights. Tochigi? Koji can't believe his ears. Here's the address, Fuminori says, handing Koji a photo with an address on the back. We need to find this building. He seriously expects to be driven over 100 kilometers and back? Koji doesn't know whether to be angry or impressed. Koji must be like, the balls on this fucker. Koji and Fuminori then begin quite possibly the most menacing and awkward 3-hour drive to the middle of buttfuck nowhere. I mean, Koji's the GOAT at this point. Come on, we can't deny it anymore, right? If I was Koji and like I was in that house and who I thought was my best friend sneaks up to me like that and then like acts like this, I'm like, bro, I don't even know if I really want to this guy. If I really want to this guy, sorry. I meant with this guy, but also this guy too. Like, I don't know if I want to that guy or with that guy, because he's kind of lost it, clearly. I don't know why, but I guess to be fair, if it's your best friend, you would want to know what the is going on with him, especially because they've been friends for a long time, so it makes sense. But I'd be like, yo, driving him over 3 hours, I'd be like, get the out of my car. What are you talking about? Or like, at least Venmo me for gas, you know? I'm not gonna just drive 3 hours out of nowhere after you act like a weirdo for like weeks. Meanwhile, Yo is in the cafeteria by herself, pondering on the circumstances. She's filled with anxiety and self-loathing as she spirals into paranoia. What is going on here? Where has Omi gone? Is Fuminori really unrelated to her disappearance? Or is he the key to this mystery, as Koji and Dr. Tambo suspect? Tambo means like fields, like it's like rice fields and shit, you know? Tambo. Her name is Yoko Rice Fields. Sorry. Let me just make sure I'm not speaking out of my ass, okay? Yeah, Tambo means rice field or rice paddy. Bruh. Her name is Rice Field, bruh. Sorry. To be fair, my last name literally translates to like bridge storage, so I can't speak on anyone else's last name though. As she realizes that Koji and Omi must have witnessed her getting verbally obliterated by Fuminori, she starts to feel responsible for whatever happened to Omi. As Yo continues to spiral, her phone gets a sudden text message. It's a text message. There's no title. And the sender is... she's doing a Poggers face. Sorry, she's going through it, and I'm just like, oh Lord, she's doing a progress face. It's a message sent from none other than Omi's phone. But how? The text menacingly says, if you want to know more about Sakisaka Fuminori, come to his house alone. Tell no one. The sender must have gone through her and Omi's texting history, as it seems to know about Yo's interest in Fuminori. Another text is then sent saying, I'll tell you everything when we meet. Come alone. Tell no one. As the anxiety drives her nearly to tears, Yo is paranoid that the sender might be somewhere nearby and doesn't want to call anyone else for help. Feeling trapped in this situation, she has no choice but to go to Fuminori's house. Yo arrives at Fuminori's house. She feels like she's standing in the middle of a necropolis, as if everyone in the houses around her is dead. I mean, that's partly true. There is a house where everyone's dead in it. Oh, yo, if only you knew. As she rings the bell, she gets a text telling her to come in. Yo realizes she's being watched as she sees a window curtain flutter on the second floor. The phone now demands that she enter, and she does. She sees that Fuminori's shoes are not there, but then recognizes Omi's shoes and begins to question everything. She decides to call Omi's phone. The phone dials Omi's number. It takes only a second for the signal to reach the nearest relay station, and then... Oh, a familiar ringtone echoes through the house. That scared me. It's coming from the second floor. Someone must still be up there in the room with the moving curtains. As she hears the phone ring from upstairs, she asks, who's there? But no one answers. Yo can only hope that this is just a really cruel prank pulled on her by her best friends. Maybe it's Omi. Maybe it's Fuminori. Surely it's just the two of them playing a prank on her. Koji might even be here with them. What a fucking cruel prank that would be, right? Got him. I just pretended to go missing for a week. Got he. Yo then goes up to the second floor. Come out already, please. I can't take this anymore. And then Omi comes out and she's like, got he. She then walks into Fuminori's bedroom. Wow, what a beautiful room. The aesthetics in here are great. Doesn't look like eye vomit. It looks beautiful. What do you mean? The room is empty. Please stop this. And then Omi comes out from under the bed and she's like, Gotti! Although Yo sees no one, she's suddenly grabbed from behind by something like slime-covered rubber. Really? We're just gonna see tentacles? This is some tentacle shit. Get me out of here. Now, a quick trigger warning, as this scene is going to depict assault. Yeah, once again, we're going through this again. The tentacle creature thing begins to rip open her clothes and wraps itself around her chest, but pulls away as Yo screams. Yo falls to the floor as the creature sends another text to her phone. Is this Saya? What are you saying? Saya, what the fuck are you talking about? It just takes me so out of the situation. Just like the slime monster, just like, you're pretty and your breasts are so big and soft. I bet they're good for attracting males. What she went through is not funny. That is terrible. It's fucking horrible. But just like considering the entire scenario that she's in or we're in right now in the game, that is just like why? Why are we talking about tits, guys? Why does it always have to, anyway, this is the most like anime thing I've seen. It's not even an anime, but it's like, oh my God, eye roll, Japan moment. Now that it's confirmed that this creature was the one sending her the text from Omi's phone, all Yo can do is curl up into a tiny ball and ask God to save her. As the creature seizes her ankles, Yo knows she's about to get SA'd, but no longer has the strength to resist this monster. The monster tells her she won't kill her, but instead will let Yo share in their happiness. Wow, sounds so fucking wonderful. Yo's consciousness begins to fade as the creature begins to do God knows what to her. Poor Yo, dude. Jesus Christ. I feel like this is another one of those scenes where I'm just like, was this really necessary for the story? Why do we gotta keep having sexual assault taking place over and over and over and over again? At this point, it almost feels like that random bullshit go meme, but in a horror story format where they just throw whatever might just be the most shocking or repulsive thing into the story just to be like, oh yeah, this is real horror. I don't know, man. It just feels really unnecessary for this entire event to be a assault, but that's just my opinion. Meanwhile, Koji and Fuminori drive through the snow. The two talk about Omi again, but Fuminori seems so indifferent that it shocks and angers Koji. Fuminori never used to be like this, but it seems like there's nothing Koji can do for him anymore. The two arrive at the cabin in the woods. Fuminori immediately gets out of the car and kicks the door down, and Koji decides to follow suit. The cabin is very old and run down. The only signs that anyone lived here are found in the toilet, the bath, the kitchen, and the bedroom. What, someone left a shit in there or something, bro? Everything else is empty, but just like some shit in the toilet. That would be terrifying, wouldn't it? It appears that the cabin was never used for anything but eating and sleeping. And shitting. Fuminori starts rummaging through the cabin as Koji searches different rooms. The cabin is eerie, as if someone put together a mock-up of a home and then left it to decay. Koji goes outside and sees a wooden door half buried into the ground. All he finds there is a pitch-black basement with nothing but a storage room and a boiler. Standard stuff. Koji wonders if Fuminori was mistaken or simply lying as he heads to the backyard, where he spots a well sitting in the middle of a field. As Koji wonders what the hell Dr. Ogai would be doing with a cabin here, he decides to call Ryoko, who might know something. However, his call leads voice to voicemail, so he decides to leave her a message including the address. He then worries about Yo and decides to call her too. The phone rings longer than it usually does until the call connects at the last minute. The first thing Koji hears is a strange sound. It's not signal interference, but some kind of wet, distorted noise, like the voiceless groans or perhaps sobs of someone far away. No, that's exactly what they are. The person on the other side is crying. Tsukuba, is that you? Who's there? There's a response, but is it really Tsukuba's voice? It's too twisted with agony for Koji to tell. Panic surges through Koji as he realizes that something is terribly wrong. It's Koji! Tono Koji! Is that you, Tsukuba? Where are you? After a short period of nothing but pain moans, words start coming through the speaker one by one. I was attacked by a monster, and now there's something wrong with my body. Oh my god, what happened to her? What happened? Are you alright? I'm running away. My skin is melting? My ear just came off. What is happening to Yo now 100 kilometers away? Help me, Koji. This isn't how my fingers are supposed to look. Call the cops, Tsukuba. Koji screams into the phone, his reason overwhelmed by unimaginable horror, which is why he is unable to react when the phone is suddenly knocked from his hand. And also why he didn't notice Fuminori sneaking up on him until it was too late. Fuminori seizes Koji's lower jaw with his right hand. His biggest mistake was leaning back against the well. There's nothing to grab onto as Fuminori pushes him backwards over the edge. He can only flail his arms vainly against the air. No, Koji. Koji soon loses his balance entirely. Before he can realize what happened, his back strikes something with tremendous force. Oh. Holy shit. Koji is pushed into the bottom of the well by Fuminori. He calls out to Fuminori, who only laughs and throws his phone back down the well, but the battery has been taken out. Koji is luckily not hurt, but is unfortunately stuck at the bottom of the well, as the mud-covered stones make it impossible to climb out without help. Fuminori says, too bad the fall didn't kill you. Now you have to freeze to death. Koji asks his best friend, or I guess former best friend at this point, why he would do this. Fuminori responds that it's because Koji might have become trouble later on, so he decided to take advantage of this cabin on a whim. What a beautiful and solid friendship these two share. Koji continually begs and screams for Fuminori to save him as he walks away, leaving Koji to die. Koji screams for hours until it's nighttime, but doesn't stop screaming as silence will only bring him despair. Meanwhile, Fuminori out here feeling real great about killing a man, his best friend, and how no one will ever know. He decides to walk to the station and takes the train back to Tokyo. It turns out he had brought a meat cleaver with him just in case, showing that he intended to get rid of Koji somehow either way. Now, Fuminori sets out to eliminate the other threat that might cause trouble for him and his PDF file relationship with Saya. Yo. Fuminori gets home as Saya welcomes him. The two are very happy as Fuminori says things went well for him, and Saya responds that she's also about done with preparations for something. She tells him she's getting a surprise ready for him. Ooh, I wonder what it is. But before the surprise, she asks if Fuminori wants to take a bath or eat. And so the two decide to take a bath together, which, Jesus Christ, really not the imagery I needed today. But anyway, Fuminori happily tells Saya about his adventure, saying that killing was easier than I thought. The hard part was getting home. It was cold in the mountains, even for winter. I should have worn heavier clothing. I was afraid I'd freeze to death when it got dark. Why didn't you just take that Koji person's clothes? I pushed him into a well, remember? His clothes were with him at the bottom. Oh yeah. Saya laughs and sticks her tongue out bashfully. Colon P. Fuminori says now all they need to do is take care of Yo, to which Saya says, leave it to me. She says the surprise should be ready by now and tells Fuminori to close his eyes. As Saya takes him upstairs, Fuminori hears crying. At first, he's shocked Saya would even let someone else in the house, but then realizes that this crying sounds clear to him, unlike the sludgy, fleshy monsters that surround him every day. Saya then takes him into a room and tells him to open his eyes. Oh my god, so she turned into sludge. She did turn into sludge. Fuck, that's terrible. Oh, poor Yo, man. Oh, Jesus. As he opens his eyes, he sees Yo curled up on the floor without any clothes on. Fuminori is confused as he can see Yo as he remembered, not the fleshy creature he would constantly see after the accident. Saya says she decided to change Yo's body into one that Fuminori can love back. She had made Yo just like herself, a slimy, sludgy monster in reality. Saya reminds him that she's able to mold the bodies of other living creatures, and this is how her abilities are really meant to be used. However, since this was her first time, things weren't as smooth as she hoped. Yo notices Fuminori and looks at him. He sees a faint glimmer of recognition in her eyes, but notices she's unable to speak or move properly. Saya says the change must have destroyed her mind, as it was a 20-hour process of suffering and melting into whatever creature she is now. Saya says since Fuminori said he wanted friends and family, she got him this present, to which Fuminori says, come on, she's not a dog. Saya responds, there's not much difference. Her head is totally empty. She had chained Yo up with a collar around her neck and tugs on it when Yo tries to get away. The two decide to keep keep Yo in the house as their pet, and Fuminori revels in how Saya had solved this problem in a way he could never have imagined. Yo no longer looks like a human. She has no memories and can't speak. Saya had effectively killed Yo without actually taking her life. Fuminori is unsure on how to respond to some of this, as Saya wonders if he's not happy with this. The last thing he wants to do is reject the symbol of Saya's affection, but since Yo is the second human being he's seen since the accident, and since she's a beautiful woman, he feels certain things. Yeah, we're really going down this route yet again. He asks Saya, "She's still a girl, right? Don't you balk at the thought of me living with another girl?" To which Saya begins to laugh and tells him that she only did this to please him. So if Fuminori himself likes Yo and enjoys spending time with her, then Saya will be happy with that too. I hate to say this, but are we still doing this? It's almost like I never left school days. Can we stop with the... Okay, hold on. Let's read the line first. Let's read the line. Men are, well, really depraved creatures, and... I mean, Yo's body has features that yours doesn't, right? Oh, for fuck's sake. So even though it's nothing like my love for you, I can't help but get aroused. Okay, guys. Are we still doing the whole... Oh, man, we just can't help it, man. Oh, men just can't help but want to touch everything and fuck everything around them. Like, can we please stop with this? This is horrific. There's no reason to be ashamed of your natural male instincts. Jesus Christ. I hate the whole male instincts thing. Being attracted to a certain type of person doesn't necessarily mean you can't help but just want to fucking do everything to that type of person, you know? It's just like ridiculous. Yeah, me as a heterosexual male, I find women attractive. That doesn't mean I'm like, I can't help it. I just want to, put my hands all over every woman I see. Oh, as a male, I can't help. School days did this to me, and now we're doing this again. And also, Yo has no more agency of herself. So what we're talking about here is another essay situation. I can't. Fuminori once again asks if she's sure, and Saya answers with a devilish smile, one that Fuminori has never seen before. She says that Saya herself and Fuminori are lovers, and Yo is their pet, and she will be reminded of this every day when they play with her. Fuminori realizes that Saya chose Yo for a vengeful and jealous reason, a malevolence that Fuminori finds irresistibly charming. His words, not mine. Okay, I think all of this is some sicko shit. Fuminori now enthusiastically accepts Saya's present, and the two start doing some gross shit to Yo, Fuminori grabbing parts of her body as she cries. Okay, so now we're just watching a scene. This is another scene. I don't even know what to say anymore. Fuminori then says, "The night has only just begun." So now, not only do we have a really gross PDF file relationship as a major plot point of this goddamn game, we also now have a victim who is effectively brain dead and has had her ability to consent to things completely taken away from her and completely dehumanized, and has been forced into a position of a pet, quote unquote, that the main character can do whatever he pleases with in gross sexual ways. I mean, the level of depravity in this entire past few scenes I just described to you is so insurmountably insane. I genuinely have no idea where to even begin or what to say anymore about this stuff. It's hard not to wonder whether the elements of the story really is trying to tell any sort of story, or if these scenes are really just there to fulfill some kind of sick fucking fantasy that someone out there has. It's absolutely disgusting, and once again, all feels so goddamn unnecessary to me. I'm sure everyone has their own opinion on it, but to me, I just find that the way this game treats Yo gets so gross and so unnecessary that it makes the game worse. And once again, I'm pretty sure this is another one of the sections of the game where certain scenes and art were removed from the remastered version, and I don't even want to imagine what kind of shit used to be in the game here. Anyways, after whatever horrific shit happened between the three, Fuminori lays in bed considering what his life will be like from now on. And I too have changed. Yeah, you're a PDF file murdering psychopath. That's what you are now. I've killed 2 people with my own hands and made a third my mindless slave. Yet despite all that I have done, I am still able to sleep peacefully. Without a doubt, I am no longer the Sakisaka Fuminori I once was. Yeah, what gave you that f***ing clue, huh? How far will Saya take me? Too far. What will I become? Disgusting. Well, you already are. He asks Saya, "What are you?" To which she says it's hard to explain, but compares herself to a dandelion seed drifting into a desert with no grass. She says that the seed is still a baby flower, and maybe it can turn even a desert into a garden. However, the only thing that can give it the strength to do so is to be loved by just one person in the whole desert. All this dandelion seed needs to be told is how pretty dandelions are. Now, this dandelion metaphor is really really fucking ominous considering the abilities that Saya has. Fuminori says he loves her and tells her to stay with him forever and to never leave his side as the two fall asleep. Meanwhile, we go back to the well where Goatji is still thankfully alive but has lost touch with reality. Is he alive? Please tell me he survives. Please tell me he whoops Fuminori's ass. I want Koji to whoop his ass. I'm gonna be even more upset at this game if Koji dies, okay? His voice had given out and his thoughts are incoherent. He dreams of things from the past until he hears the sounds of an engine and a door opening and closing. Koji then returns to reality and starts to scream for help until he sees a silhouette asking him if he's still alive. The mysterious figure says she'll get him out and asks if he can climb a rope. Koji, being in a cold-ass well for God knows how long, can't, so the voice tosses a climbing rope and comes down the well. It's none other than Dr. Ryoko Tambo. Yo, she's sus as hell, but you know what? You saved my goat, Koji. Thank you so much. Oh my god. My goat is alive. That's the only thing that I care about. She gives Koji a flask and tells him to sip on it. He unscrews the cap and takes a swig. He struggles to keep from coughing as the potent liquid sears his tongue. Well, what is this? Spirit is vodka. She knows exactly what he needed after this experience. Koji asks why she's even there, and she says she tried calling back, but neither Koji or Yo answered, and she realized something was wrong. Ryoko figured both of them were dead already. Remembering Fuminori, Koji begins to get angry, but Ryoko tells him to calm down and find some stones in the wall that are a different shade than the rest. She then pushes them, and they discover a secret passageway. Ryoko then reveals she's been at this cabin once before to investigate, but had no idea this passageway was here. She tells Koji to stay at the well, but he decides that he'd rather follow her than spend another minute in that goddamn well, which honestly is super understandable. Dude, I cannot imagine how pruned his fingers must be at the moment. As they walk down the hall, Ryoko says she wishes she killed Dr. Ogai when she had the chance. They encounter a wooden door, as Ryoko says if there aren't any other exits, then Dr. Ogai must still be behind this door. She then whips out a very handy tool, I guess. Oh my gosh, she's taking out a gun now? What is happening? Is she American? As Koji asks what the hell she's planning on doing, Ryoko says when she first learned about what Ogai was doing, she was just a model citizen who never even received a ticket before. Everything she does from now on is to clean up the mess that Koji and his friends have unfortunately stepped in. The two then enter the door. Beyond the door is a large room with an operating table sitting in the middle of the room. Cabinets full of enamelware and drugs line one side, and a writing desk and bookshelves on the other. There are unrecognizable mystery objects on the tables and shelves, mirrors with complex patterns, grotesque statues and masks, tapestries woven in nauseating arrays of color, and a crystal ball the size of an infant's head. They all make Koji feel sick just by looking at it, as if each was designed for the sole sinister purpose of immortalizing the creator's hatred of the world. There are also rare-looking books and scrolls, as well as indecipherable chalk patterns and symbols on the walls and blackboards. And on one shelf are stacked some scrolls that look to be made of some kind of sheepskin or papyrus. Papyrus? Papyrus from Undertale? Sorry. Whatever it is, it's not paper. Ryoko suddenly whips out a camera and some spray paint as if she's about to start vlogging a 24-hour overnight challenge in this horrific, creepy lab filled with stuff that's definitely haunted or cursed in some way. As she tells Koji to never look at strange symbols or read anything written in atypical languages like Latin. E pluribus unum, this bitch. It's safer to use a camera to record them for later and to paint over the original. As Ryoko continues to spout some shit, Koji wonders if this lady might be more insane than Fuminori himself. I genuinely have no idea because, spoiler alert, kind of. All of these mysterious artifacts or whatever knickknacks Ogai carried in his lab don't seem to really play much of a part in the overall story anyway, so who fucking knows if Ryoko is deadass about this stuff or if she has also lost her marbles way more than we might have thought. After Ryoko is done covering all the cursed alphabet soup on the walls with spray paint, Koji asks what happened to Ogai. She tells him that Ogai was over there and points at a corner of the room. Koji approaches to see a corpse sitting over a large chair. It's Dr. Ogai Masahiko. Oh, he dead, bruh. He dead. He looked like the emoji I like sending, bruh. His corpse has shrunken and is holding a revolver in his hand. He must have used it to end his own existence. Compared to those gaping voids, the tiny hole in Ogai's right temple is almost demure. Demure! Yo, he looks so demure, girls. Before anything else though, Koji falls unconscious as he's out of energy. Koji wakes up in a cabin bed as Ryoko sits at a table reading a bunch of papers she brought from the lab. She was able to bring Koji with her because there was a door behind one of the bookshelves in the lab leading up to the cabin without having to climb out of the well. As Koji and Ryoko discuss, it seems like Ryoko is way more focused on figuring out the papers in front of her, not even taking a second to look at Koji. They both corroborate the story that Fuminori told them. One of Ogai's relatives had asked for Fuminori's help in finding a missing doctor. However, Ogai has no known relatives relatives, so who could this person be? Ryoko asks Koji if the name Saya rings a bell, to which Koji says no. Ryoko says the more she reads, the less she understands, but she knows this Saya is the focus of Ogai's research, and tells Koji that if Fuminori is involved with whatever this Saya thing is, he's already past the point of no return. Koji says he could go to the police, but Ryoko quickly shuts that idea down as he has no proof or witnesses, and the risk is too great as it definitely will send Fuminori into hiding, and they'll be back at square one. Koji asks what Dr. Ogai did in that lab room that's so unforgivable that Ryoko has to take justice into her own hands, a question that Ryoko ignores. Actually, Ryoko tends to ignore a lot of what Koji has to say or ask throughout their time together, but this time Koji glares at her and doesn't back down, demanding an answer. Ryoko is spending this entire sequence blue balling the truth from us, and I'm like dying because before I stop playing today, I want to know what the fuck is going on. See, this is what I mean when I say there are legitimately intriguing aspects of this game in the story, right? Like this. I am so interested in what's happening right now that I've actually been playing longer than I expected to. But then we get like that whole scenario with Yo. Like why? Why is that so necessary? This story is interesting on its own. Why the fuck do you need to like add a shock value SA scene in the game? Like it's just, what else is it there for? It's not like an artistic statement or anything, is it? Ryoko finally looks up from her papers and at Koji for the first time since he woke up. She tells him to get out of this while he still can and to not return to Tokyo until he's ready to forget any of this happened. This makes Koji angry as he had just lost his girlfriend and his best friend to this. How can he forget? Ryoko doubles down, saying it's not a suggestion, it's a warning. He'll never see his friends again and declares Yo to be dead, as not everyone is as lucky as Koji, and it's already been 2 days since he called Yo on the phone. Koji calls Ryoko heartless and realizes it's futile to argue with her as their values are fundamentally too different. Koji's about to leave as Ryoko asks him where he's going. He says Tokyo, since Yo might still be alive. He's going to go save her. You just don't listen, do you? I could say the same about you. I'm sorry, Ryoko. He kind of clocked you a little bit. See, she's smiling. She's like, you know what? You kind of got me. Which, okay, Koji might be a bit too idealistic at some points in this game, but hey, can you blame someone who literally had everything taken away from him in just 2 days by who he thought was his best friend? Ryoko asks if he can't wait a little longer until she can figure out a plan to deal with whatever this Saya is, but Koji says that Ryoko only says that because Yo is dead to her. Koji says he can't depend on Ryoko since she's made it clear she doesn't care about saving lives, and teaming up with her will make it more difficult to salvage anything out of this nightmare. Koji leaves as Ryoko throws him the revolver that was in Ogai's hand, saying there's still 4 bullets left in there. Koji would normally reject something like this, but the situation is too dire at this point, so he takes it with him. Koji gets into his car and forces the food down his throat. However, there's no time to dwell on he passed. On he passed. Come on, guys. What is this? I'm kind of a grammar bitch. Okay, I'm sorry. He then calls Fuminori on his phone. The call goes through. Feeling slightly gratified, Koji delivers the first jab. What? Weren't expecting a call from a dead man? Koji! Koji then comes up with a plan as he tells Fuminori about the secret passage, the underground lab, and says he met Ogai Masahiko. He bluffs, telling Fuminori that he knows everything about Saya and has all the proof he needs to blow this thing wide open. This angers Fuminori as Koji asks where Omi and Yo are and says he might be willing to cut a deal. If Fuminori swears not to cause any more harm, Koji will forget about all of this as he just wants the 2 girls to be safe. Fuminori says he still doesn't know anything about Omi, but wonders if Yo would even want to leave at this point, reminding Koji of the horrific phone call from earlier. Koji tells him to let Yo go, and once he knows she's safe, he'll destroy everything he has on him and Saya. Koji doesn't give Fuminori any time to negotiate, as he says he'll call again later and has until then to make up his mind, and ends the call. Since Fuminori doesn't know where Koji is right now, he wants to take advantage of this confusion. After crying for 5 minutes and letting his emotions out, Koji starts his car and begins the 3-hour drive back. Meanwhile, Fuminori holds the phone in his hand, angry but keeping his emotions in check. Yo then calls out for him. Master? Yo looks up at me apprehensively, her head between my thighs. She was attending to me throughout the call. Don't be mad. Yo, we'll try harder. Jesus Christ. It turns out that she has been in between his legs during that entire call. What the fuck is this goofy ass shit? Apparently, Yo regained some degree of speech, so Saya started to teach her language again. Fuminori now feels like he has a family again thanks to Saya, and has responsibilities on his shoulders as the new head of the Sakisaka household, as well as its only male member. It's his duty to protect, comfort, and ensure the happiness of the women living under his roof. Yeah, we got some of that I'm the man of the house type bullshit here, but whatever. He commands Yo to continue as he tries to think through this Koji still being alive problem logically, while also trying not to get distracted by Slime Yo giving him head. Saya then comes into the room to ask who he was talking to. Saya returns from the kitchen, where she'd gone in search for a midnight snack. She's munching on her favorite spare ribs. I don't know. I don't know why I found that so funny. I'm so sorry. Spare ribs. Okay. Whose? He calmly tells her that Koji is alive and says it's probably best that if they leave this house now, since it'll give Fuminori the chance to regain the initiative and deal with Koji at a place of his own choosing. I'm currently being pleasured by Yo. It would be hard for anyone to get too serious under these circumstances. What? So wait, what? Oh my god, this is some insane ass shit going on. What? So you're telling me right now Saya is just talking to Fuminori and Fuminori just got his pants off and Yo's just like, you know, giving him a little licky lick. Like, and they're all just like talking about what the fuck is going on? What are we doing here? What are we doing here, guys? Why am I playing this game, dog? Why am I still playing this game? He promises the next time they meet, he'll kill Koji with his own 2 hands. A shiver runs through me as I anticipate the battle ahead. My bloodlust burns like orgasmic fire. Brother, what is this language? Back at the cabin, the sun has come up and Ryoko is exhausted from hours of poring over the files. And I was also exhausted as I was playing this game for like 3 hours at this point. Apparently, Dr. Ogai was a real boomer because he did not trust the quote-unquote electronic media, which you can tell someone is a boomer when they call technology electronic media. But anyway, he didn't encrypt his files on any computer, but had left them all handwritten and arranged in a certain way. That really doesn't matter to the story. Why do we give a shit about how this old fuck sorry, why do we care how this old fuck organizes stupid notes? Just tell me what's happening, please. Ryoko's perseverance has paid off, and will my perseverance also pay off too, Ryoko? Will you tell me what's going on, please? We now finally get to learn a bit about what the fucking hell Saya actually is through Ogai's notes. Well, kind of. Dr. Ogai's diary begins with him saying that he succeeded in communicating with the organism. This organism apparently shows enormous curiosity and is extremely intelligent with an insatiable appetite for knowledge. It has an absolutely insane learning speed, but exhibits no desire to be recognized as an individual, suggesting a psyche wholly unlike that of a human. The organism then intellectually developed at an astounding speed, learning enough language to communicate freely in just a few days. However, it seems as though the organism only gained awareness after materializing in the universe and has no idea where it came from. Ogai hypothesizes that this is not a naturally occurring organism, but rather something created by an even more sophisticated sentient life form, like some kind of recon drone sent here from another world. What? So did this creature get hit by a truck and isekai'd into our world? Dude, what? Later entries show that the organism's brain power far surpasses any humans, as after learning about prime numbers, it was able to calculate more than any human ever could in history in mere hours. This morning, I taught it about prime numbers after I explained the Lucas Lemur test for Mersenne Guys, can we not? This hurts my f***ing brain. Computers all over the world are currently working to... this could mean jack shit to me, dog. Okay, I guess it's really smart. I don't know what it means. He says that this organism's computational speed exceeds that of even the most powerful supercomputers. The organisms... I keep almost saying the orgasm. That's how you know my brain is like so right now, dude. And then this game is fucking me more with like the Lucas Lemur test. I don't know what that is. Lemur? Sorry, I'm not a mathematician, okay? What's 2 + 2? Dog? Although revealing this research would make Ogai a billionaire, he finds this research is worth far more than any money and vows to keep it a secret. I'm just imagining like in the first day it learned how to speak, this organism just like spitting the fast part of rap god. A faster rapper than Eminem? That's possible? Sit down, Marshall Mathers. Got another organism taking over the rap game. Then one day, the organism wanted to focus on sociology and natural sciences instead, with a keen interest on how organisms reproduce and multiply. When the organism learned about DNA, it seemed somehow excited by it, a reaction that the organism itself even seemed surprised by. Ogai continues to give the organism more and more books until one day, it asked for something other than food and books for the first time. It wanted to consume the sperm of living creatures, not as food, but because of instinctive impulse. It declared itself as a life form that requires the seed of males and started identifying itself as female. Ogai wonders if this personality she's begun to exhibit is just an imitation of a human being or if there's something more going on, as he's now seen her laugh, grow angry, and even cry. She's acting astonishingly human. Is the soul something any intelligent form can acquire? On her birthday, Ogai gives her a name, Saya. It was the name of Ogai's mother's cat, who was his only friend and beloved during his childhood. He had decided decided that if he ever had children, he would give this name to his daughter. He says happy birthday to Saya, saying, "Let this be the name of your soul. You've earned it." He then talks about Saya's ability. She had apparently created something in her body from some rat semen that he gave her. He hypothesizes that it's some kind of retrovirus, a reverse transcriptase enzyme that creates exactly what she desires. I'm not smart enough or knowledgeable enough to understand what the fuck any of that means, but y'all can let me know if that makes any sense or it's all bullshit. Anyways, Ogai says that the rats have been transformed by Saya and are so very beautiful now. What exactly is it that she created in her body from the rat semen? What the fuck? The rats that have been transformed by her art are so very beautiful now. What? What does it even mean? What does she do to the rats? He's like, oh, they're so beautiful. What? Did she give the rats sticks or something? Sorry. Oh man, furries would love Saya. I'm so sorry. This is so disrespectful. He just called the rats beautiful. He didn't describe them anything else. What? She gave him a nice face? Like, what is it? You know? Nice ass? Oh. I think I'm starting to lose my mind like all the characters in this game, dude. Ogai is now confident in his theory that Saya's body is designed specifically to manipulate the biology of other organisms. As Ryoko looks at the pile of unsorted notes, she wants to at least look through Ogai's biological observations before facing whatever Saya is. She checks the time and figures Koji should have arrived in Tokyo by now. She wishes she stopped him from leaving, even if she had to shoot him in the leg to do it, which, girly, that sounds a little bit extreme, but oh well. Anyways, Koji arrives in Tokyo and pulls up near Fuminori's house. Disheveled as hell from the horrible past 2 days, he can't recognize a tired, unshaven face that stares back at him in the mirror. He walks up to Fuminori's front door and enters the house after realizing that the door is unlocked. Inside, he feels the same ominous aura that he felt at Ogai's house and cabin. He also smells an indescribable stink. Sorry, I just got so distracted thinking about like, what's smellier? A Smash tournament or Fuminori's house? I guess there's no deodorant that's good enough for slime flesh monsters. Feeling as though a dear friend's grave's been defiled, Koji is now filled with anger and sorrow. Koji doesn't remove his shoes before entering. He knows why he's here, and it's not to be polite. Yo! Koji! You know, as someone who grew up in an Asian household, Koji! Not taking your shoes off is diabolical. That's like the equivalent of saying fuck you and smacking them in the face. He does a round of the house and is convinced that the house is completely empty, as the smell makes him wonder what kind of insane ass life Fuminori's been living the past 3 months since the accident. Koji quickly finds the answer to his question when he enters the living room and turns on the light to see the absolutely batshit insane Van Gogh-esque paint on the walls. It's clear from the dust that this paint was not applied recently. This makes Koji wonder if their friendship was really that worthless, and feels anger at himself for failing to help his best friend through his suffering. Maybe Koji could have done something for Fuminori, maybe even saved him, which I personally kind of doubt. But hey man, Gochi's just out here looking out for his homies like the goat he is, okay? Koji enters the kitchen and the smell is clearly the most pungent here. There's stale blood all over the room as well as the sink. He then spots the fridge. Oh, he's gonna find his girlfriend in there, dog. She's chilling in there, literally chilling. Sorry. After working up the courage, Koji opens the fridge doors and sees a horrific sight. Inside is literal human soup, filled with a delicious array of organs and body parts, as well as a notable hand with painted nails. Koji is unable to remember what Omi's hands look like despite kissing her fingers countless times, but it's quite clear that this is what remains of Omi. Koji had promised not to cry again and doesn't, but wishes that he had saved his earlier tears just for this moment. His doubts about Fuminori have now been utterly obliterated, and the only thing keeping Koji sane at this point is the revolver that he holds in his hand. He steels himself to kill Fuminori once and for all, not for revenge or justice, but to make the world once more a place governed by reason. After taking a deep breath, Koji now must make a phone call. Now, here we get the option to either call Fuminori or Ryoko, and both of these choices lead to a different ending of the story, and while they are pretty different in how they play out, both are depressing as fuck. Anyways, I first decided to call Ryoko to see what happens. This ending has a few names, and I'm not really sure if there is an official ending name or whatever, but according to Google AI, which is definitely a reliable resource for sure, it's called the Humanity Wins ending, which, spoiler alert, guess who wins in the end? I can't tell, but yeah, that's what it's called apparently. Koji calls Ryoko and tells her that he searched Fuminori's house. His voice is now different. It's a dull, flat voice of someone who has had all the energy beaten out of him. He tells Ryoko that Fuminori has murdered people and and eaten them, that Omi is dead and Yo is probably too, and that he was wrong. Ryoko tells Koji to do nothing until she returns, as the more she understands what Saya really is, the more she knows the monster isn't going to go down that easily. Koji informs Ryoko that Fuminori knows he's alive, but doesn't know about Ryoko. This makes Ryoko into a wild card, and she could use this to her advantage. Ryoko says she'll finish up with the files and return to Tokyo around midnight, and Koji responds, okay, with the cold tone of a machine rather than a human. A machine with only a single goal, the extermination of Fuminori Sakisaka. As she hangs up, Ryoko sees there's no more time left to finish up organizing all of Ogai's notes, but she has to at least decipher his biological reports on Saya, which could contain info about her strengths and weaknesses. Meanwhile, Fuminori also prepares for the upcoming war of slime versus humanity. Fuminori takes the slimes, Saya and Yo, out on a wonderful, fun family road trip to an old abandoned sanatorium that Saya knew about from when she was with Dr. Ogai. Just like going to Disney World or Universal Studios with your family or friends. Fuminori drops the slimes off, quickly goes out to buy a weapon, and returns as Saya confirms that there's no one around the sanatorium and they're safe. Fuminori then takes out an axe he bought from a camping goods store. This looks like a weapon from like a video game. I actually kind of like the design of this axe. It's just like an Elden Ring weapon, dude. Does it apply bleed? As Fuminori practices his Otani swings on the axe, Yo flinches at the sound. Saya then sadistically asks if he wants to test the axe on Yo, which, what the actual fuck, dude? This slimy bitch is actually insane. Fuminori says it's not a good idea, and even he is surprised at this brutal suggestion from Saya. Apparently it's fine because Yo's new body can heal pretty easily from cuts, but Fuminori says, I'm sure it'll still hurt. Saya then responds, but her screams are pretty adorable, don't you think? Jesus Christ, oh God, Jesus, what the fuck? Fuminori says he doesn't feel right using the axe on a human, to which Saya brings up, what about Koji? Fuminori says he sees Koji as a monster, so this should be easy. Plus, humans have a conscience, so no matter how much they hate someone, they can't help but think twice about killing them. Fuminori is gonna use this weakness as an advantage to win against Koji. Saya seems concerned, saying it's dangerous to rely on something like that. The two discuss the logistics of how to actually deal with Koji a little more, until Fuminori comes up with a plan that turns Saya's frown right upside down. She's so easy to please, but that's part of what makes her so cute. Oh my God. I hate reading some of these lines out loud. I won't lie to you. Fuminori recognizes that this won't last forever, and the slightest mistake could put him and Saya's lives together in jeopardy. They won't be able to find lasting peace in this world with these goddamn humans and their moral compasses unless they can somehow escape from it.
Humans are extremely dangerous, and their filthy, stinking bodies make me sick just by being nearby. Ironically, however, nothing tastes better than their meat. I truly regret having to abandon our well-stocked fridge.
I'm sorry, I just keep thinking of like a Smash Bros tournament. That's so rude, dude. I've seen posts online where like people post like a paper in front of like the Smash tournament. It literally says like, please wear deodorant. I'm not even making it up. Shit apparently smells really bad. I've never been to one. I wonder if it's worse than Fuminori's house though. Saya mysteriously says that one day they won't have to hide anymore, and that's a promise, like an ominous prophecy told with solid confidence. She says it'll be her last present to him, her first and final duty. Koji at home showers and eats, but is unable to nap despite his utter exhaustion. He decides to wander the city until nightfall as he reflects on the messiness of his life. He gets a call at 8 p.m. from Ryoko, and the two decide where to meet as Koji's final night of peace ends. Ryoko arrives at their meeting spot 1 hour later than agreed upon, at 1 a.m. at a diner. Damn it, Ryoko. She has a heavy-looking duffel bag under her arm. Koji doesn't feel like asking what the bulges represent.
Sorry, I had a lot to get together.
Ryoko doesn't sound at all apologetic, but Koji decides to just nod expressionlessly. Koji is beyond giving a single fuck anymore, dude. Oh my God. I mean, I don't blame him after what he's been through the past few days, plus seeing that fridge. I can only imagine. The two sip on their coffees as they begin to discuss. So, sister, what's the tea? Koji asks. He did not ask that, sorry. So did you find what you were looking for? Koji asks bluntly. Koji tells Ryoko that Fuminori seems like he's under a lot of stress, and his reaction to the name Saya was very clear. Koji asks Ryoko once again what the hell this Saya thing is, but Ryoko once again tells him to go home and forget everything. Koji asks if he still hasn't crossed the line, separating himself from Fuminori and Ryoko, who tells him that Koji has yet to see the worst of it. The nightmare is only starting now. She says if Koji backs out now, he can probably heal with time, to which he responds, you're saying your wounds are deeper than mine? Ryoko then tells Koji that the shotgun was actually her father's, and she stole it from him, even getting him kicked out of his hunting club.
By cutting the barrel down like this, the shot spreads over a wider area and causes more damage. I heard it even in America.
Yo, shout out America, the land of guns, bro. This is how Japan sees America, bro.
To be fair, is that far off though?
She reveals that she stole it after the incident with Ogai was already over because she just couldn't get to sleep anymore. She used to sleep with a machete next to her bed as she wanted to know that no matter what horrors this world might hold, she still had some power against the madness. Koji is impressed that someone with such a serious case of delusional paranoia could function as one of a university's top neurosurgeons. Yoko said that the nightmares got worse until she stole the gun and was finally able to fall asleep afterwards. Well, only 1 out of every 3 nights, that is. How she manages to continue being a neurosurgeon despite the severe lack of sleep is beyond me, but I might be a little bit scared to have this lady poking around in my brains. I won't even lie, dude. Yoko continues to talk about various ways she can use a gun, and Koji blatantly says that she needs help. Yoko thanks him for his honest opinion, but says he won't be able to talk like that for much longer if he continues down this path. Koji asks Ryoko to give him a reason to trust her and show him what Ogai did. She then shows Koji some of Dr. Ogai's notes. As directed, Koji looks through the handwritten pages and gives up after less than 3 minutes. I can't read this. Is this on Audible? Koji tries to play it off as if these notes are some kind of draft of a horror novel or some crazy shit. But deep inside, he remembers the bones he saw at Ogai's home and the putrid smell from Fuminori's house. Yoko reveals that Dr. Ogai had brought specimens to the hospital a year ago, and he had continued his research in secret while using their supplies without permission until he was discovered and things spun out of control. Ogai was treating this experiment as a P3 level biohazard, which to me doesn't really mean jack shit, but hey, it sounds like it was really dangerous. Anyways, Yoko doesn't specify what exactly happened to this point, and I do wish the game went into a bit more of an explanation when it comes to the backstory and the lore, but we don't get too much, unfortunately. Yoko ominously says they should have evacuated the nearby civilians, but the higher-ups made the whole incident disappear. She says they were tasked with exterminating every single rat on campus, including the things that used to be rats. You know, the beautiful specimens that Ogai was simping over earlier in his notes. Now, I'm not sure if Ogai decided to release the rats to attack people around the hospital or if they just had escaped without him meaning to, but either way, it doesn't sound like it was a very pleasant experience. In the end, everyone but Yoko gave up on trying to explain what happened. Yoko searched for Ogai and learned what he'd been doing. She had found the people he'd been dealing with and who'd encouraged him to perform his experiments. And this was when she started sleeping with a machete, as she had learned how worthless human reason really is. Whatever the hell any of this means, who fucking knows? Again, they don't really explain much of it in detail. At this point, Dr. Ryoko Tambo is the queen of blue balling any interesting lore that remains in this godforsaken game, and to the bitter end, she will just blue ball you and me with tidbits of lore without fleshing much of it out. Get it? I'm losing my fucking mind. Koji then reads a particular message in Ogai's notes.
The organism's flesh is not fibers, but reticulated. Reticulated, I don't know how to say that. But simply, it is an extremely tough substance that expands and contracts not in one direction,
Baby, you lied. Sorry.
but in all directions.
Oh, is he talking about the band like splitting apart and going into their own? Sorry, I'm so sorry.
This means that slashing or piercing damage has very little effect. Since the flesh can contract in any direction freely, any wound will be sealed instantly.
Koji says this is all nonsense because if he believes in what he just read, the logical rules of the world would be rendered meaningless. Yoko says she lost any reason to doubt his notes a long time ago. She takes out a stainless steel thermos and calls it the secret weapon they can use to defeat Saya. Koji snaps, saying he doesn't care what Saya is and all he cares about is killing Fuminori. She tells him to do everything to take down Fuminori, and she'll take advantage of whatever opening he creates. Koji then asks Ryoko if she has a reason to get rid of Fuminori.
I like things neat and tidy. I can't stand people like him who lurk outside of the world. They're like cockroaches in your bedroom. Can you sleep with them scuttling underneath your pillow? The moment I find one, I kill it and stamp out all trace of its existence. I have to, for the sake of my mental well-being.
I mean, cockroaches I kind of understand, but like, yo. I heard cockroaches, like, when you stomp on them, their eggs stick on your shoes and more get born. Is that true or am I crazy? Have I been lied to my whole life? Koji has similar reasons to do this. They then decide to call Fuminori and make their move.
Koji, where are you?
Fuminori must have been quite anxious to hear from Koji. Let's just say, I'm right behind you. Koji can't help but smile at Fuminori's disappointment. Perhaps Ryoko's maniacal sadism had rubbed off on him. Gotti! This fucking dude, I'm behind you. On the call, Fuminori tells Koji to bring the evidence, and when he confirms they're real, he'll hand Yo over. He tells Koji to go to a certain location, and once he confirms that Koji is alone, he'll tell him the exact location, then hangs up without waiting for a response. Yoko then plans to get into Koji's car trunk in order to remain hidden, and they leave the diner.
Weren't you the one who chose to meet here?
Yeah, why?
Take responsibility for the coffee,
She says and tosses him the check. She really did that. As they drive, Fuminori makes him change locations 4 different times until he's led to the actual sanatorium. This looks like a great place to live in secret, or to kill someone and hide the body. Places like this, lost and forgotten, aren't found only in deep jungles and hidden valleys. Holes in the world are everywhere, even in the midst of civilization, and in between my ass cheeks. Sorry. As he pulls up, he gets a call from Fuminori, who welcomes him to his new humble abode. Koji gets his flashlight and revolver and opens the door while popping the trunk at the same time to signal Ryoko. He then approaches the building and goes inside without turning his flashlight on, so as to not give away his location to his mortal enemy. Everything is dark and indistinct, rendering sight useless. However, Fuminori is also dealing with the same conditions, so whoever makes the first sound loses. Imagine if you're in this situation and you really just had to fart, dude. You're like, please let it be silent. Please let it be silent. Please let it be silent. Koji walks through the halls and checks the room as he notices the same smell of rotten meat from Fuminori's house. Suddenly, Koji hears a wet sound from down the hallway. Squish. Y'all. Koji freezes and stares down the hall. It was a wet sound that he heard just now, and it came from the room at the end of the hall. Something's there. Something alive. Koji begins to hear breathing. As he proceeds, the strange sound coming through the cracks in the concrete walls grow clearer. There's more than just darkness, however. Something is there. He can hear pained breathing like that of a wounded animal and what sounds like sobbing. Sobbing? Who's there? Koji whispers into the darkness. The last time I heard her voice on the phone, she was sobbing. The wheezing suddenly stops. And then, oh no, it's Yo! Koji? A whisper comes out of the darkness. Though not a human voice, not by any measure. It speaks some blasphemous semblance of human words. A nightmarish flash of insight connects the dots in Koji's mind. Tsukuba? It can't be. Yo doesn't sound like this. She doesn't smell like this. Oh no, that's so sad. Please, Koji. Kill me. But if it's not Yo, then how does it know his name? Why is it begging him for help? It can't be Yo. She's a human, not some creature that slithers and hides in the shadows. It hurts. This body always hurts. Save me, Koji. Is it you, Tsukuba? Is it really you? Let me die. No more, please. Kill me! Sorry. Something soft and slimy slides over Koji's toes. Instinct overrides his will, forcing him to turn on his light and shine it at his feet. The white beam reveals everything. The merciless truth that finally shatters Koji's sanity. Terror wipes his mind of all but 2 words. Gun and trigger. His finger responds with instant obedience. His ears are still ringing from the bang, but he hears a weak voice coming from the shadows. It hurts. Koji screams and pulls the trigger again and again, certain that salvation can come only from the barrel of his gun. Light and darkness, explosion and silence. They dance before him 3 more times. Koji doesn't even need to aim. This horrible creature is right at his feet, far too close to miss. Yoko warned him how many bullets were left in the gun, but that information had already been driven from his mind. Even after the cold, heavy gloom wraps itself around him once more, Koji keeps pulling the trigger like a man possessed, paying no heed to the clinking of the empty weapon. His panic-stricken legs suddenly give out, sending him down hard on his backside. And though all 4 bullets must have hit their target, they were Koji's last card to play, which leaves him alone in the darkness with no way to defend himself. And just as he realizes this, a mass of rotting flesh rolls over him like a tidal wave. Okay, how am I gonna do this? It hurts! He can no longer even scream as the thing pushes him onto his back. Oh no! Koji, no! With fear seizing his throat in an iron grip, Koji struggles desperately against the monster as it crawls up his body towards his face. Covering his face with his left hand, he scrabbles wildly along the floor with his right, searching for a way out that doesn't exist. His mind is that of a feral animal, empty of everything but primal terror. And that is why, when his right hand closes around something hard at the last moment, he recognizes it instinctively as a weapon. Putting every ounce of his strength into his arm, Koji swings the heavy object at the top, a creature on top of him. He hears the thud of a blunt object striking something soft and wet, and then Koji's attacker rolls off him. Only now does he realize that he's holding a rusty steel pipe. The monster is still sobbing. With a cry that is part scream, part roar, Koji raises the steel pipe and brings it crashing down on the cowering creature. Die! Die! Consumed by the same desperation with which he kept firing the empty gun, Koji rains blow after blow down on his enemy. After the 10th blow, it stops sobbing. At the 20th blow, it stops moving. And after the 30th blow, it begins to feel and sound more and more like he's beating a puddle of viscous liquid. Koji doesn't stop thrashing the creature until he recovers enough of his senses to realize that whatever it might have been before, it is now nothing but a corpse. Yeah, so tragically, Koji had killed Yo without realizing what just happened. I mean, I don't even know if Koji recognizes that it was actually Yo, but I doubt the guy's brain is able to really process anything happening at the moment, so who actually knows? As he looks at the dead creature in front of him, he remembers Ryoko's warnings and realizes how merciful they were. Now, in complete despair, all he feels is rage and hate towards the man who ruined his life. As someone approaches from behind him to attack, Koji swings his pipe as hard as he can, causing the figure to leap back. Sakisaka! Fuminori! For this moment, Koji could never have imagined that he would ever speak his friend's name with such hatred. Look at this goofy ass dude. Fuminori is surprised by his failure to catch Koji off guard as they are finally face to face. Fuminori asks, "Whoa, are you trying to kill me? I thought you would hesitate," as he brandishes his axe. Koji responds, "I wouldn't hesitate against you. How did you kill Omi, you piece of shit? What did you do to Tsukuba? After all this time, you really expect me to think twice about this?" And Fuminori says, "That's my line. How could you do such a horrible thing to Yo?" pointing at the now dead slime creature on the floor. The two then fight in an intense battle scene. Fuminori swings as Koji blocks, but the pipe's rust keeps flying off every time the axe hits it. Koji then manages to kick Fuminori's thigh, immobilizing him for a moment. As Fuminori gets back to attack, his swings are wild and uncontrolled, and Koji continues to block until Fuminori exhausts himself. At this point, the situation favors composure, not brute force. Koji is in more of a state of zen than Fuminori, who is just swinging over and over and screaming at him to die. Seeing that Fuminori's swings are now duller, Koji grabs the haft of the axe with one hand and swings the pipe as hard as possible with the other, breaking some of Fuminori's ribs. As Fuminori falls to his legs, Koji gets ready to deliver the finishing blow. Raises his pipe high enough to deliver the finishing blow. Oh, no! Koji, no! Koji is grabbed and dragged on the floor by Saya's slimy tentacle. Saya begins to choke Koji to death, and he's about to accept his end. Koji is certain that this is the end. But just as his vision begins to dim, an explosion brings him back to his senses. That's what I think Saya sounds like in real life. With a horrifying, inhuman scream, the creature releases Koji and retracts his tentacles. The first thing he sees after regaining his mobility is Ryoko running down the hall with a smoking shotgun in one hand and a silver tube in the other. "Doctor!" Ryoko responds by tossing him the tube, though still lying on the floor. He manages to snatch it out of the air. It's the thermos she showed him at the restaurant. The one she called her secret weapon. "Put on that thing!" Ryoko shouts to Koji. As Saya screeches in pain, Ryoko aims the gun at Fuminori with one shot loaded. Koji then unscrews the lid of the bottle and pours the contents onto the monster. The thermos sails through the air, spewing white fog, and like a baptismal font showers its liquid contents upon the hellish creature. Sorry. Its scream this time is incomparable to before. The monster thrashes in agony, wreathed in white smoke. Its screams are joined by Ryoko's cackling.
That's minus 197 degrees, you fucking monster! How's it feel? Cold? Hot? Not so tough now, are you?
Monsters, I'll kill you!
Fuminori is now so angry that he's forgotten about the pain of his broken bones and begins to approach Ryoko, who stops laughing and pulls the trigger at Fuminori. Unfortunately, the gun sputters at Ryoko, who is inexperienced with firearms, and she quickly tries to reload the gun as Fuminori staggers towards her. Koji tries to stop Fuminori but is unable to make it in time as Fuminori swings the axe down on Ryoko, critically injuring her in the process. She should have died instantly, but through some unimaginable force of will, Ryoko clings to life for a few seconds more. Grinning through bloodstained lips, she raises her shotgun. Oh my god! Oh my god! Not to the front, but to the side, beyond the barrel of the gun. Wearing the 77-degree Kelvin mist, like a white cloak of death, is the weakly wriggling Saya.
No!
Fuminori's scream vanishes into the roar of the shotgun. The destruction is absolute. The impact of the shotgun pellets obliterates the half of Saya's body that fell prey to the liquid nitrogen. Ryoko smiles and shoots Saya with the last bullet, obliterating Saya and gravely wounding her. Even for a creature like Saya, this wound was too great. As Saya convulses, Fuminori's expression is now utterly devoid of emotion. Koji prepares to attack Fuminori, but stops when he sees how empty Fuminori had become. There was nothing left in him to kill anymore. Fuminori takes the axe out of Ryoko's corpse and uses it on himself, ending his own life. Koji can only stare at the corpses around him and feels left behind. Koji then hears a soft, slimy sound. It's Saya, who despite being on death's door, is sliming her way towards Fuminori. Koji's anger rises up again as he hits her with the pipe and tells her to die over and over again. The monster continues to slide towards Fuminori as Koji continues swinging, tears pooling in his eyes until he sees the creature extend one tentacle to caress Fuminori's cheek until it dies next to him. Even in its final moments, this monster called Saya would not let Fuminori go. It died with him. At this point, Koji's world has been completely changed and the one he's known and loved is gone forever. Poor Gochi, man. We then cut to the site of the fleshy university cafeteria as Koji's friends all discuss the ski trip. However, Fuminori's face is completely destroyed, Omi looks like she's been half eaten, and Yo is completely normal. The three talk about the ski beach trip while making jokes about their mangled bodies. Koji looks at his own body and sees himself as a fleshy, squelchy monster until he wakes up from this nightmare soaked in sweat. He's had this nightmare so many times that he eventually stopped waking up screaming. It's 4 in the morning and he can't get back to sleep. Koji wanders into another room where he sees a hallucination of Ryoko sitting there, also mangled. Her left arm hangs from her half-severed shoulder, dangling like a forgotten wind chime. I wonder if it makes the same pretty noise too. Ding, 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 ding. Every time. Sorry, that's so messed up. The corpse strikes her intact right shoulder. Ding, ding, ding. Sorry. Sorry. The wind chime just wrong. Ryoko tells Koji he can't be getting much sleep, and Koji says the pills help for now. She tells him that he seems to have been able to come to terms with it, and Koji responds that she was the same too, as she had managed to pass herself off as an elite neurosurgeon, despite all of this emotional turmoil and nightmare. Ryoko says it's not hard to keep up appearances when you have to, but things will only get worse from here. Time heals all wounds, but with Koji, it's more like he's been poisoned, something Koji agrees with, as the insanity that has taken root in his heart will eventually consume him. Koji says he's at least had Yoko to learn from as he retrieves a weapon he keeps behind his bathroom mirror. It's Ogai's revolver. Koji had managed to purchase a singular bullet, saying he never wants to be in a situation where he'll need more. Yoko's corpse says, "You really do get it!" And as Koji turns to talk to her again, he realizes that the room is completely empty, and he returns to the real world as he stares at the gun in his hand while smoking a cigarette. Now that he knows Ogai's fantasies and Yoko's delusions are actually real and tangible, he knows what insanity and despair truly are. It turns out that Fuminori is now wanted for several gruesome murders after the bodies of the Suzumi family and Omi were discovered. They also found Yo's clothes in Fuminori's house, but were unable to locate any trace of her amongst all the body parts. Dr. Ryoko Tambo of T University Hospital had vanished mysteriously, and because she was Fuminori's chief physician, the police have been investigating her connection to his crimes as well. Koji had buried the 2 corpses in the backyard of the sanatorium ruins, and no one will ever find them. Koji is the only person who will ever know what truly happened, as this turns into yet another cold case. Koji has been ruined by this insanity called the truth. He stares at the gun and remembers Ryoko's words about having some power against the madness and horrors of the world, and finally understands her as he's taken her lessons to heart. One bullet is always behind a bathroom mirror, promising him salvation, and the game ends here. So yeah, on one hand, I mean, humanity survives, which I guess is technically a happy ending. On the other hand, my boy Gochi has had his entire life destroyed, his mental health completely obliterated, and the story ends on a really depressing note, where Koji is basically standing between the lines of life and death. Everyone else that was involved, or he was close to, all dead. It's really tragic, especially because Koji really just got dragged into this mess without even knowing, and he was just trying to look out for his homies for the most part. My boy Gochi was able to survive this horrific incident and defeat his former best friend turned PDF file murderer cannibal, but at what cost? Being left alone with heavy psychological scars and feeling idol? Man, that's just so sad, dude. Unfortunately, if you thought the other ending could be any happier, well, I have bad news for you. It's rewind time. Going back to when Koji discovered the body parts in Fuminori's fridge, we once again have to make a choice of calling either Fuminori or Ryoko. This time, Koji decides to call Fuminori straight up, and this choice will lead to the other ending called the Saya wins ending, which again, spoiler alert, gee golly, I wonder who wins. I saw this ending was referred to as the true ending of the game, but considering I found this info with the Google AI tool, I can only really take this with a grain of salt. I have no idea what's considered the true ending, or if any of these endings are even considered the actual definitive true ending, but anyway. Koji calls Fuminori right after discovering the bodies in the fridge. Fuminori picks up immediately and asks where Koji is, but figures it out by calling his home phone and hearing Koji react to it. Fuminori says, "I guess you've already seen everything, huh?" To which Koji asks, "How many people have you killed?" Fuminori says he's only killed one person, but he's taken apart multiple. At this point, all of Koji's sadness and horror disappears, and he's only left with one desire: to kill the creature, speaking such horrible words using his friend's voice. Koji asks if Fuminori also killed Omi, to which Fuminori responds, "The first human I ate might have been Omi, and it was also the same day she disappeared, but the body wasn't in any shape I could identify." Koji, hurt by this deeply, also asks to hear Yo's voice, to which Fuminori says that's not possible. They establish the trade, but both sides already know the other is trying to set a trap. Fuminori abruptly ends the call after telling Koji to meet him at Dr. Ogai's house at 7 p.m. Koji immediately leaves the house, not wanting to give Fuminori any advantages. Some of the events from here on out play out the same exact way as the earlier ending. Fuminori takes Saya and Yo to the abandoned sanatorium. He gets his Elden Ring Bloodborne looking axe. Saya suggests to try out the axe on Yo. Saya says some weird prophetic stuff about how they won't have to escape anymore, what they're gonna do with Koji, yada yada yada, whatever, who cares. Meanwhile, Koji waits at the Ogai house until 7 p.m., waiting to ambush Fuminori when he gets here. He can only feel hate towards his closest friend, the world, and himself for allowing this betrayal to happen in the first place. However, as Koji waits, Fuminori never arrives arrives at the house as the sun sets. Frustrated, Koji gets a call from Fuminori at 7, who tells him that he figured Koji would try to ambush him, and so tells him the real meeting place now, clearly taunting Koji. As Fuminori hangs up, Koji angrily kicks the chair and heads out immediately. Once again, a similar chain of events play out. Koji drives through the middle of nowhere.
Holes in the world are everywhere, even in the midst of civilization.
And between my ass cheeks.
Sorry, I literally said that the last time too.
Arrives at the abandoned sanatorium, walks inside the dark building, hears a slimy noise, and encounters Slime Yo, who begins to attack him.
Let me die. No more, please. Kill me.
Koji panics and ends up killing Slime Yo with a steel pipe and faces off against Fuminori in an epic showdown of a lifetime.
Fuminori's panic swinging, and Koji's like,
What he doesn't realize now is a situation favors composure, not brute force.
and he pushes up his glasses, and then his glasses do that little shining anime thing.
You just activated my trap card.
Unfortunately, this time, Koji doesn't have Ryoko nor the knowledge of anything related to Saya, and therefore was blindsided by Saya's tentacle, which grabs his leg and drags him across the floor. It's at this point where my hero, Gochi, is tragically killed by the stupid-ass tentacle monster.
He's trying to snap his neck, and it's getting tighter. No, Koji! No, Koji! Koji! Why can't we have nice things? Koji's two endings are he becomes a massively tortured soul with a lot of mental issues, or he just fucking dies.
Koji is now dead, and Fuminori has won the battle. Fuminori, having 2 broken ribs, is in massive pain as he watches Saya furiously consume Koji's insides. Koji injuring Fuminori must have angered her, as the way she ruthlessly consumes Koji's body makes even Fuminori himself reluctant to disturb her feeding. In immense pain, Fuminori wonders why Saya wouldn't show a little more concern for his condition. Saya has stopped eating and is now laying on her back, rolling from side to side as if she's satisfied from eating fresh meat, but Fuminori quickly realizes that she's actually trembling in agony and something is very wrong. He immediately goes to cradle her in her arms as she's drenched in sweat and is pale. Saya says she's fine and never thought this would come so soon. Fuminori desperately pleads for her to stop as Saya reveals her big secret.
They're gonna be born. Our children.
Huh? Excuse him, what? Ah? No, stop this!
Saya asks Fuminori to take her to an open place under the sky, and Fuminori obliges while holding back tears. As he goes outside, she says it's her final present and hopes he likes it. Fuminori responds,
Of course I will.
Saya says,
Fuminori, to you who loved me, I give this planet.
and Saya blooms.
Her back suddenly shifts, then bulges outward.
This world will be beautiful.
She whispers in exultation.
A world just for us.
What the fuck is going on? And then Saya blooms. How else could I describe it?
Is this goodbye?
I ask her, careful to keep the sorrow out of my voice.
No, not goodbye. This is the beginning of our world.
Holy shit.
It is beautiful. Overwhelmingly, painfully beautiful.
Singing victoriously of their freedom, the shining seeds of life are released into the vast and fertile land. Their song heralds the coming of the new world and the destruction of the old. It is a boundless healing. It is an eternal blessing. We shall fill the world with our joy. Now we'll be together forever, won't we? Embracing Saya's pitifully shrunken body, I gaze into the shining sky and let my tears flow freely. Thank you. Thank you for this final gift, Saya.
After what seems to be days or weeks later, Dr. Yoko Tambo drinks the last drop of spiritus vodka. After getting rid of emotions like hope and despair from her mind, she finds herself spending the most peaceful days of her life now that the world has come to an end. There's no reason left for anyone to deny Ogai's research, as we hear some more about his research from the rest of the notes.
The life form that I named Saya did not appear in our universe by chance, nor even as a result of my summoning, but because of the instincts that were programmed directly into her biology. She was created to fulfill the same ultimate purpose that all life shares: reproduction. Saya and her kind procreate by spreading their seeds to other dimensions.
What the fuck? We going Rick and Morty, dog?
What is the probability that they will discover a doorway to another world? Even if they succeed in doing so, the chance of that world being suitable for reproduction must be even more minute. In order to make the most of that scant probability, evolution has granted them a certain banish, none other than the astonishing ability that I had witnessed in Saya. They select the most prosperous life form that they encounter, take control of it, and doing so, gain dominance over the planet's biosphere. In other words, they hijack the entire species. They do this by analyzing their target's genome, then overwriting its genetic code to remake it in their own image. Saya's biology is more than capable of inducing such dramatic and widespread mutation.
Wait, can I ask Saya to make me like 6'2"? Can she reprogram me to be taller?
There's a significant probability that the target species
will have evolved into intelligent life. This element may be necessary to gaining control of a planet's environment. Therefore, Saya and her sisters also plunder their target's culture and psychology. Her extraordinary learning ability and intellectual curiosity are likely instinctive tools that enable her to inherit the target species' entire wealth of knowledge. In fact, it may be that Saya's kind has always had its sights set on intelligent life. Perhaps they wait patiently for some foolish extra-dimensional species to gain knowledge of other worlds and, in attempting to satisfy its curiosity, make contact with the outer universe in which they dwell, rather than send Saya and her kin back on their dimensional journeys with only luck and their own strength to depend on. We're not waiting for such contact greatly increase the chance of finding a world worthy of conquest. Just as how many intelligent life forms on other worlds have thoughtlessly congratulated themselves for discovering Saya's sisters.
So she's just trying to take over the fucking planet at this point. What are they, Viltrumites, dude?
The one flaw in my theory comes from none other than Saya herself. After using me to learn everything she could about humanity, Saya should have finally been prepared to begin the last stage of her invasion. However, she never carried out her mission. Why?
What is she, Omni-Man?
I've hypothesized that Saya was an irregular among her kind.
What is she, Omni-Man? It is said that the human race's intelligence has allowed us to conquer our
natural instincts. Perhaps in absorbing the human psyche, Saya accidentally inherited the disease that infects our entire species. What is human love, really? What behavior could be more of a hindrance to the efficient propagation of a species? I am reminded of how, at the end of her studies, Saya consumed vast quantities of romantic literature from all over the world.
Oh, so she's lonely. she's part of the loneliness epidemic. Doesn't matter if you're a human or a ball of flesh and slime, bruh.
She tried to understand romance as an integral part of the human reproductive process. As a result, she might have unwittingly neutered her own unparalleled reproductive abilities. After all, she had not known love. She had come to this world to rule it in our place and had studied humanity to fulfill that purpose, but ultimately, she could not share love with a human. Without love's blessing, Saya was unable to find a passion to fill this world with her kind. In learning all that there was to know about humanity, she herself had become hopelessly human, weary of loneliness. She despaired of the world. How pure her maiden soul must have been. If this hypothesis is correct, then it means I have failed as her teacher. I cannot help but feel ashamed for having spoiled such an extraordinary organism.
As we hear about all this, Ryoko goes outside and drives herself further up the mountains. She had come up here frequently in the early days of the change to watch helplessly over the quickly mutating city. As she stares over the now fleshy and squelchy city, we hear Ogai's final words to Saya. He has a dream that one day, his daughter will know the blessings of love. And when that day comes, Saya's purpose will consume humanity, so that her progeny may flourish. The whole world will know her love and be reborn. Ogai writes that he deeply regrets that he has to end his own existence before he can see this day come, as there are people catching up to him. He asks Saya to forgive him for leaving her alone in this world, but knows she'll find her path, and he himself will dream forever of this world that she will create. Ryoko looks over the mountains as she reflects on how she herself is changing now. Although she's not yet as inhuman as the creatures wriggling through the city, she has started to show signs of mutations herself. She thinks it might be best to go to sleep here, and maybe when she reawakens, she herself would have completed her transformation into a ball of fleshy gunk. Ryoko stares over the city while she sips on the last few remaining drops of alcohol as the game comes to a close.
Whatever the case!
Ryoko thinks dreamily as she licks the very last drop from her flask.
Even after I stop being human, I hope I'll still enjoy the taste of booze.
I respect you. She got her priorities. So, yeah, that was Saya no Uta. Well, the remastered version of Saya no Uta, that is. Here's a confession. I actually wasn't aware that this version of the game actually had cut content. So I was confused because I thought I had missed something because I'd heard the game contained some really messed up shit. After I finished the game, I ended up doing some research into the content that was cut. No! Yo, what the fuck? Oh, this isn't funny. It's not funny, but okay, hold on. What the? What? What? I just did a bit of Googling, unfortunately, and I didn't realize this, but there actually are a lot of scenes that were removed from the Steam release of this game. Understandably so, based on some of the images I saw of it, because they're basically just the quote-unquote H scenes, you know what I'm talking about, you know? There are straight up like uncensored, how to say, child scenes like that. So that's really gross. That's terrible. I'm so glad like I didn't have to go through that bullshit. I think that would have genuinely pissed me off, to be honest. Look, I googled on obviously I went to incognito mode, but I looked up Saya no Uta deleted scenes, and you go to videos and the first link is literally to videos. So yeah, I mean, no. I think the remastered version just has a lot of these scenes cut, which makes sense. Yeah, so obviously that was a really horrible and disgusting adventure, and I wish I could scrub my eyes of that experience, but then I had an idea for this video that you're watching right now. I don't even know if you can still play the original one. Not that I want to, really. Part of me feels like I should try to play through those scenes just to get the full picture of what's going on with the game, but at the same time, you know, like, do I really want to subjugate myself to that kind of material for content? After stepping away from the game and thinking about it, I came to a really horrifying realization about how numbed I was to some of the absolutely horrible shit that was in this game. I'll just play you my thoughts on this during that moment because that's just an easier way for me to communicate how I felt. I thought about it for a little bit, and I feel like I kind of caught myself off guard with this idea of like maybe I should play through the original game with all the disgusting, nasty shit in it to get the full sort of like experience. Now that this is my job and I feel like I need to communicate everything as it is to the people watching, I become a little bit blinded and also, unfortunately, kind of numbed to a lot of the horrible stuff that I tend to review. Because I've been looking at the material for like how long now, you know? I mean, my most popular anime review is Midori, which is genuinely still one of the most up things I've ever watched. And then I covered School Days for like a month and a half, and I'm noticing that I just started getting numb to these things. That's why the idea of like, okay, well, only I have to experience these painful or horrible things, and my job is to like go through it and then communicate it to you guys and to expose like how disgusting these things actually are. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, well, first off, the fact that I'm even considering forcing myself to go through, I just got hit with like a wave of like, holy shit, dude. I've become so entrenched in this world of like the up stuff that I reviewed that I didn't even question it, and that scares me a little bit. And I think it shows how easy it is for these types of media forms to really normalize things like this, or not even, I don't want to say normalize because it's not normalized, but you know, like not even question it. I mean, obviously like I'm questioning it, and obviously it would have been an experience that I hated. I'm not going to enjoy it whatsoever, but I've come to realize that that's not really necessary, because based off of like what I saw in the game already, there's already so many disgusting things in it. You know, obviously I've decided like, nope, I'm not going to even go through that because first off, legal issues, I'm sure. I'm not trying to with that at all, completely no. I didn't even really consider that the first time, which is crazy, right? It's not really my responsibility or necessary really to experience the horribleness of it. I already know my opinion on the game, and I feel like I don't really need to go any further. There's just so much horribleness that it just almost feels not shocking anymore, and I feel like that is also something that kind of scares me a little bit, not just in terms of me, but in terms of like the entire industry. I just think that the fact that I even considered it scares me a little bit, because that's just not okay in any way, and I felt like I should be honest about that feeling, I guess. That's literally what I speak out against, even if it's for content. That doesn't make it any okay. No amount of content or whatever is worth putting myself through that experience. You know, it's not like I was gonna be able to discuss the details of it anyway, because it's fucking disgusting, and I would never want anyone else to have to go through the experience. But I think in this journey of like creating content, I forgot to consider myself as well, and that I'm also a person and a human being, and I have my morals and feelings, and it's not worth sacrificing my own sanity for this either, for things that I don't even think most people want to hear about anyway. I've been on a mission to try to take better care of myself. So I think not playing the full version of it is just the answer. I don't want to be numb to these things, you know? So yeah, this all was a really big shock to me, and honestly, a huge wake-up call. I always tell myself that it's fine, that I can handle these things, but I didn't even realize that all this was doing was numbing myself to some of the objectively horrific and criminal shit that is contained in not just No Uta, but in a lot of the stuff that I talk about on my channel. At the end of the day, yeah, this is all fiction, it's drawn art, yada yada yada, and that is true, but at the same time, if someone like me, who literally at this point has a full-time job talking about and deconstructing some of these really fucked up things, is able to get numb to this stuff, then I feel like anyone is susceptible to being numbed to some of this objectively messed up stuff. If you consume enough of a certain type of content, you'll eventually end up somewhat normalizing these things in your head in one way or another, like a really messed up form of exposure therapy. Who's to say how someone who actively plays these games or watches media that contains this type of child material or sexual assault or anything else fucked up that I talk about on my channel actually sees the world. Anyone can think they're not affected by these things, or that they can separate art from reality, or just say that it's just cartoons, but I feel like at a certain point, it stops being just a fictional piece of work and could potentially affect someone's mindset on how to treat another human being. And I think this is why I am so extremely critical of a lot of these things on my channel, because at the end of the day, just because something tends to happen a lot or is normalized in a certain society or a certain form of media doesn't make it okay or safe to keep it normalized. And this is something that I've been forced to learn over and over again, especially while playing this game. And at the end of the day, I think the biggest message from me to anyone watching this video is please take care of yourself and please check in with yourself, because this game has forced me to kind of do that with myself, and it's been a pretty rough journey. So yeah. And now let's talk about the actual game. I can sit here and really try to break down the meaning behind this work, or the characters and how they were written, or analyze the story itself, or any, I guess, deeper meaning it could potentially have, but I'm not going to. For one, I admittedly have been getting my ass whooped by burnout recently, and I don't think I have the mental capacity to really give much of an analysis that won't end up sounding like someone trying to shit, but only farts end up coming out. But also, I just don't see much worth in trying to deconstruct or analyze a game that has such horrifying things involving children beyond how morally fucked up and reprehensible it is. Like I said in the beginning of the video, no amount of good writing or good atmosphere building or any sort of theme building they try to do with the whole reproduction thing and whatnot will justify the portrayal of children in such disgusting and reprehensible ways. When a game literally has a PDF file relationship baked into the backbone of its main story, it's really hard to look past that gross part of the game, even if other parts of the story were actually engaging or well written. So yeah, that is the story and my personal opinions on No Uta, a horror visual novel that goes way too far and becomes a morally reprehensible piece of garbage as a result. How unfortunate. Anyways though, that's gonna be it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did stick through to this point, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. And once again, a huge shout out to my channel members. Seriously, you guys keep the channel going, and your support is so appreciated. And also, my members can watch the entirety of my No Uta full playthrough right now, so make sure to check that out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I will see you in the next video that I decide to make. Peace out.